Nerdrotic.com.
Welcome, travelers, to the fringes of reality, where the strange and mysterious meet, and the thin veil between fact and fiction is torn. Welcome to the Forbidden Frontier.
Oh, you lovely people. You lovely, lovely people. It's probably going to sound all muffled to everybody because the StreamYards, but it's still appreciated. Welcome to Forbidden Frontier. And StreamYards is working today.
Wow.
Which it wasn't a couple of days ago.
Amazing.
Glorious.
So we got a lot to be grateful for. And happy
StreamYards.
Father's Day.
Right.
Oh, the pops out there.
It's my
Adam's first one, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy Father's Day.
It hit different.
Good job.
It hits a little different, doesn't it?
Definitely.
Wait till they get older and then they serve you. Like my kids were cooking me breakfast today. I didn't move from the couch.
Yeah.
I felt like a king. I did. Screw that no king stuff. I felt like a king.
There's a king in this house.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Oh,
Chris-
and I heard Garrett was crowned a king yesterday.
I was.
King.
Oh yes.
You got a king
I
amongst
beat
us.
all the competition. My crown's over there, up there.
I mean, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I knew.
I'm
that.
honestly surprised. I'm horrible.
You
at
are?
video games. Yes.
Pretty
Oh.
impressive on
You-
No King's
1
Day.
point.
Yeah, right.
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 Yeah.
Hey,
Prove them wrong.
quarterback, I was rooting for you all along. I was, man. I was just,
Appreciate that,
I was
yeah.
just doing
Same.
the 4D chess, saying I was betting on somebody else.
Yeah. Okay.
Saying,
Yeah. That's fine.
that's all I was doing.
Now we have to do a 1v1 with the master, and then just me and you, and then it'll
You
solidify
wanna
my
be
Wait,
embarrassed.
Gary. I think you
I
should
know
pick
who
a
I'm
game.
putting my money on.
Me, obviously.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, you're a dad.
I am a dad. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Happy Father's Day, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you. Yep. And you guys will actually meet my daughter. Those of you that are at the Cosmic Summit this year, she'll be with me this year.
Great.
awesome.
Yep. Yep.
Which is, oh my God, 10 days away.
Yeah.
5 days.
Let's
Sum it
away.
up.
Next
Five-
week.
Well, 5 days away. I got some stuff to do first.
Yep.
I got 5 days. It's fine.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. Just wing it.
We will wing it. But I don't want to mispronounce your last name.
It's
is it-
Cottrell or
Cottrell,
Cottrell.
okay.
Yep. Yeah, I've heard him.
I was gonna
I've heard
say-
my name pronounced many different ways. So yeah,
Well, I think
don't
it-
hurt my feelings.
Kim Cottrell when I say Cottrell. So, but
Oh, that's Cantrell, I think, isn't it?
I
maybe
think it was Cottrell.
I get everybody's names wrong,
Yeah.
even Garrett's.
Yeah.
Welcome, Chris Cottrell, who is the Carolina Bay guy, which is a fascinating subject. I just since I was a kid, I loved weird geological locations and things. That's why I've always loved the Southwest and always kind of stayed there. And I got that from my mom, who was my birth mom, who was a park ranger in the Grand Canyon. Apparently that just came through the genes. So I love this subject because it's connected to the Younger Dryas and the impact hypothesis somewhat.
Yeah.
It's an evolving theory, and we're going to go over it tonight. Do I have an ad read though? I should.
No.
Hey,
No.
he checked.
No.
We don't have one.
I remembered. I remembered. That's good.
Yeah.
I'm proud of
Okay.
you, Gary.
It took
Thanks.
what, a year.
It's
Good.
no,
Takes a little
it's probably Father's Day helped, having breakfast and
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kids
it's
do all that.
early onset Alzheimer's. I'll remember your names sometimes, and then I'm just gonna forget everything, and it'll be the first time for everything for me, which will be fun. Tons of fun. But we can talk about the Egypt trip, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, let's do that.
I'm so
Listen,
excited.
we're not going there to march into Gaza. Okay, we're going there to look at pyramids.
They want us to be there.
Yes.
No sequel to Snow White. We're all good.
No, we're
No, no.
not this year, or I wouldn't be going.
Chris knows the forbidden lore. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
little bit. Yeah.
Chris, you don't have to be involved in this statement if you don't want, but hear me out. Send all the hippies to Egypt to march to Gaza. I'm like, can we crowdfund more of them over there?
Full support.
Full support. Get a life lesson when you get there. My
Yeah.
God. But hey, we're going to Egypt.
Yeah. We
Yes,
too
we
will be
are.
crying, but for different reasons because we're seeing the massive architecture of Egypt. So
Yeah. Hey, you never know. By the time we get there, they'll have figured out what the giant pillars of Moria are below there.
Hopefully.
And maybe we can go.
Ooh,
yeah,
I would love.
you could slide
You know-
down the little tubular,
Speaking of which, Jay
Yeah.
just released a new video that he's Jay Anderson. He's kind of been at the forefront of bringing that knowledge out from the Italian guys. He just put out a new video, and the thumbnail is like new information finally explains like what's actually down there. And I'm like, I've been meaning to click on it, but I've been
I need
Yeah,
to
I've been
yeah,
diving
yeah.
into
We
the
need to
bays
go.
all day.
Yep. Today's been a bay day, and that's what we're going to
Been a
talk.
bay day, bay kind of day.
So Egypt trip is
Yeah, speaking at the Cosmic Summit as well this year.
They are.
yes.
Yusuf wasn't able to make it, and he's stepping in his shoes. So yeah.
Yeah, it was like a passport issue. It sucks. I would have
Yeah,
loved to have
Yusuf,
seen
yeah.
Yusuf,
Mhm.
but maybe next year. George tried. I know he
Mhm.
tried.
Yeah.
True.
But yeah. So Egypt is half full.
I
Half
don't know if it's half full,
Already?
but there's a lot of people
Wow.
who signed up. Some new names, some familiar names, and some people from Peru. So excited regardless.
yes, gonna be
It'll
good.
be really fun. It's gonna be, of course, the whole Forbidden Frontier crew, as well as Wandering Wolf, Michael Collins, and from what
Huge.
I've heard other people say, this is the cheapest Egypt trip comparison to some of these other explorer
Yeah.
trips.
It
So,
looked doable. Yes.
Yes.
mhm.
It's doable as far as Egypt trips goes. Okay, just to let the chat
Right.
know, I was like,
Yeah.
that's a relative like to pair. Like if I could afford to go on Graham's trip, I'd go on Graham's trip.
Yeah.
I mean,
But that would not be a responsible financial decision that my wife would approve of.
Right.
But man, if you can go,
But it would be great.
absolutely worth every penny to go with Graham. But you can go with us.
Yeah, come on with us.
We'll be second best. That's
Yeah.
fine.
I'm
That's
okay
fine.
with that.
We're
Michael's
cool people.
good.
We hang out.
Michael's going to be at Cosmic Summit too, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very
Good.
excited. So
Man,
I'm
Cosmic
excited,
Summit
too.
is going to be popping this year.
it's gonna be lit.
It's going to be tons of fun.
I heard of I was talking to George, and apparently there's gonna be someone with a GoPro strapped to them walking around Cosmic Summit. So you might be able to feel like you're there alongside with all the stages.
Yeah.
Will
I
they
think
follow us
they
to
can
the
have
bathroom?
they can have on the meta glasses.
Is that
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, so you won't be able to
Maybe.
tell. So you can follow us into the bathroom. All right. That'll be different.
Well, chat, if you want, you can still watch it online. You can hang out and chat with me because I'll be in the chat all weekend watching all of the different things
Mhm.
as I did last year, which was a lot of fun.
Link in the
That's
description.
brilliant.
And you get to keep the VODs
Down below.
after if you've
do.
missed one.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
And
True.
they are highly rewatchable. All right. I just
Very.
hold on.
watched one with Chris today. Watched one that's available on the Cosmic Summit YouTube. So after you watch this, you can go watch Chris's talk on the Carolina Bays. But he's just going to do it here too. So Chris, why don't you give us like an introduction to the Carolina Bays? The first place I heard of them was Graham and Randall on Joe Rogan. Did not know these things existed my entire life, and they're crazy. So why don't you give people who might not know like a little brief run up?
Yeah, I first heard about them in the like the late '90s. I was a university student at Valdosta State University, which is in real South Georgia, and there was a really beautiful place there called Grand Bay, and it was just a huge swamp. And in the middle of it was a tower that you would walk out to, and then walk up about 100 feet into the air. And it was a real popular place for college kids to just kind of hang out because it was, nobody you could see for a mile away. And
But yeah,
yeah.
you could do college kid things. You were like
Yeah.
learning. You were studying. Yeah, you were
That's
there to
right.
do your homework. Okay.
Study
That's
group.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we did do a field trip out there with one of my geology classes that I was in, and I asked the guy, I was like, what made this swamp so circular? And he's like, well, it's actually it's a Carolina Bay, and the wind and the water over time had reshaped this bay into an ellipse. He said it's not circular; it's actually an ellipse. And I was like, well, that's kind of odd. That's weird. He mentioned back in the late 90s that there is a hypothesis out there that they could be impact related. And of course, I was like, well, yeah, duh. So yeah, you know, I actually looked up. I went up and searched what we had in the late 1990s, early 2000s. We didn't have Google back then, but I looked up, you know, whatever was on. I think I asked Jeeves or something like that.
I haven't heard that in a while.
Yeah, and it actually pulled up George's website, and
cool.
Yeah, it was really neat, you know. And so I kind of like learned from the Godfather himself, you know, from back in the early 2000s, and that was right around the same time that he started getting interested in some of this Younger Dryas stuff too. So it's kind of all links together. But anyways, yeah. So I realized, you know, I figured out that these things are kind of everywhere. You know, they go from South Georgia, where I was, all the way up through South Carolina, North Carolina, all the way up to New York. And there are these elliptical shaped depressions that we find all throughout the landscapes. Most people have never heard of them. You can live within one of these areas and drive in and out of these Carolina bays, and they're you always find them in really flat terrain in the coastal plain. But as you're driving, you'll just kind of go up a little bit, a couple meters up or a couple feet up, and then back down into a swampy area. And they're Carolina bays. They're these raised, rimmed, elliptical shaped depressions. And what's neat about them is that they all have orientation that points back to one spot on the map. They all point back to the Great Lakes area, which is pretty fascinating. Yeah.
Go back to you had the slide
Really
up
bizarre.
actually. Well, this actually shows it too, because the Saginaw crater is that impact point that you're talking about
this close to it. Yeah.
In the lakes. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. This is actually one of Michael Davies's hypotheses. We could talk about him a little bit later, because he's the one who's responsible for providing all of us with like really good LiDAR that we can use on Google Earth, which is pretty neat. But
while this is up, I was looking at this and I kept thinking about, why isn't there, because you could see that there's a lot of these impacts along the coast, right? That's the Carolina bays that go all the way up to New York, and then over in Nebraska, I believe, right? Nebraska something, I forget what they're called.
Yeah, they're Nebraska rainwater basins. Yeah,
right, the rainwater basins. But why isn't there any along, you know, Louisiana, Alabama, Texas?
We only find them in unconsolidated soil. Now, if you start really looking, which I've done and Antonio Zamora has done, these are all people that are into the Carolina bays. You can find a couple of them. You can find a couple here and there in Alabama. You can find some in Kansas.
So maybe they're there. We just don't know.
Yeah, you have to really look. And again, unconsolidated sediment is like loose, sandy soil. Once you get into some of those areas, it's clay, or it's really heavily eroded areas. And so there may have been bays there in the past, and they've been eroded away.
Okay.
But and a lot of it is rocks and things like that, and it's not going, or clay, really heavy clay soil. They didn't form there, but we see them a lot in unconsolidated sandy soils. Yep. Yeah. And we find those along the coastal plain of the Atlantic coast, and there's sandy unconsolidated soil in Nebraska, and that's why we still find them there.
So the general consensus is these were formed through rain and just regular.
I always like to say the accepted academic hypothesis, because you know this is what's written in papers and things like that. Was that all of the Carolina bays had to have been ponds. They all had to have standing water in them long enough for directional, long enough for directional winds, directional coming out of Canada to circulate the water. And once an ellipse formed, they just stopped, I guess. They just, that was it. And
also the academic say that they vary in how old they are, their age, from 100,000 years old and then I find it interesting. They go 100,000 years old to 11,500 years old, and I'm like, why did they choose that date?
Interesting.
It's weird. Everywhere I looked, that was the range. It was 100,000 to 11,500 years old, and I'm like, okay, why are they using that? I think I know why.
Yeah.
Well,
And
could
we'll
they
talk
point?
about it. We'll talk about it later because I have
Okay.
some hypotheses about that as
Oh,
well.
okay.
Yeah. Because they do. I don't disagree with their ages. Whatever ages that
Okay.
they're getting, because they're actually using a technology called OSL, optically stimulated luminescence, for that.
Okay.
And so they're able to detect like the last time grains of sand have been exposed to sunlight. And what I think that they're actually observing is erosional events. I think they're observing times where wind was blowing and it blew sand around. And because they're getting all these dates from the rims, they're getting all the dates from the southeast rims that they find. And so
Where
I
all the
think
sand
finding,
forms, right?
Yeah, like I said, we could talk about it. I have some slides I sent to X-Ray Girl too that
Cool.
kind of show this a little better. But yeah, the dating, I think they're showing erosional events. I don't think that those are formation dates. So.
And the
That makes sense.
accepted academic theory is this took millions of years, hundreds of thousands of years.
No, like Adam was saying, that the academic hypothesis is that over the past 100,000 years, like during the last ice age, basically.
Okay.
They call them thermokarst.
Yeah, that's another one too. Yeah, that's another hypothesis.
Right,
yeah,
the thermokarst.
But you were
lakes,
talking
which
about
is like frozen underneath.
Yeah. Because if you go to Alaska, you can find thermokarst lakes that have somewhat of a like directional. They're not ellipses though. They're not mathematically ellipses, and that's actually what we're going to focus on this year. But they're oblong ovals and things like that, and they don't overlap.
They're not uniform.
Right.
I've seen the examples that they bring up in these debunking videos.
Yeah, and I've had authors of geology textbooks use those as examples for what Carolina Bays are, and I'm like, there wasn't even like permafrost. There wasn't that's like the main ingredient for a thermokarst lake is that the ground has to be permanently frozen
layer to have that ice
These
underneath.
Are some examples.
Exactly.
Here.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're not uniform at all.
All of these videos, I watched a few debunking videos to try to like see the other side, and all of them ignore the uniformity in the northeast or northwest to southeast direction. And I'm like, that's a pretty huge part of what the Carolina Bays are magical for. Like they're all uniform. Like,
well, they use
there's
the term,
a reason for that.
Yeah, they use the term catabatic winds, which is the air, the really cold air on top of an ice sheet, on top of a glacier, rushes down off of the glacier in one direction, and that's what they're saying, that the winds from the North American glacier, the Laurentide ice sheet, rushed across North America and then hit all of these ponds, and these ponds were being swirled around, creating the Carolina Bays. Yeah, that's
over 100,000 years.
Over 100,000 years, same direction.
They have like 3 or 4 different like times that were like, happened here and here and here. And one of the things that George Howard says is, well, then we should be able to identify like a class system of, well, this group formed at this time and this group formed at another time, and we can't do that. They're all they're all identical, and they do change as you go up and down in latitude, but that's because of the directionality of where they came from. It's
right.
Yeah.
And the uniformity of they're facing Michigan, right, which is really weird. And wind, you mentioned it, wind changes direction. It doesn't just always blow the same direction all the time, even if it's off an ice sheet, which I totally understand would be stronger and colder. But for 100, and it just
Chad just made a really good point. The Appalachian Mountains would block that wind.
Yeah,
wouldn't they? I mean, it's all along that entire coast. I lived in the Appalachians a long time. Like, they basically cut the coast off of where that wind is supposed to be coming from. So, how do they explain that? Good shit, chat. I don't know who said that.
It goes up and back down again. That's what
Appalachian Mountain. I'm like,
goes up and back.
That wasn't me.
Don't question it.
That's one of my biggest arguments is that there's way too many variables that would cause the outcome to be different. Any little change to a variable can change your outcome to an experiment. And there anything, a group of trees, a bush, a pack of mammoths laying down overnight, would change the shape of one of these Carolina Bays, and that's not what we see. They're all elliptical shapes.
Yeah.
Like
And
no
they're-
matter the
I-
size, they're almost all like perfectly the same exact shape.
and when they, and I think you hear the term bay, and it doesn't really portray what these things are, because they're
Yeah, that's true.
some of them are a foot deep, like 2
Yeah.
feet deep, and
Yeah.
that when I think bay, right, I'm like, I'm not thinking something small like a
That's-
pond.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a good
Right?
point, because they actually get their name from they form swamps because they have that rim that extends all the way around it. It's
Right.
a really good place to catch water, and over time, bay trees grow inside of these swamps. There's certain types of vegetation. The ecology is really unique inside of these Carolina bays. In fact, where you have these pictures right here, they oftentimes find like Venus flytraps and things like that in those
Cool.
Carolina bays. Yeah. But the bay tree, like the bay leaves that we use for like seasoning, like Old Bay for
Yeah.
like a crab boil or something like that. That's where that comes from, is from the bay trees that grow inside of these Carolina bays. So that's where the name actually comes from.
So, and you went over like the Playa Lake explanation, which, there's examples of those everywhere, and they don't really make that shape, and it just feels like, I mean, whatever the truth is, it's probably going to be weirder than, just the wind made this over. It's like,
Yeah,
it's like the Bonneville Lake ice dam thing, where they said the ice dam got to, an ice dam that can hold 1,000 feet of water, and that's just like that's and it broke like 80 times or something like that.
Yeah.
It seems like
With it refilled and froze.
Over and over.
I can
again.
believe a meteor hit the Earth before I can believe that. Okay, I just it's just
because we
common
know
sense.
that meteors have hit the Earth before. Why is it so
Yes.
ridiculous to think it
It-
would then?
This
do
one's
that?
tough for people because of what it was. So, and Chris will explain this. Of this is a ejecta of some kind, like ice or water, and that would be really unique to hitting an ice sheet. That something that you can't really track a lot.
Yeah. In fact, if you could look up the Michigan Basin, I think that's kind of an important part of this story that's been kind of overlooked. Because if you look at the ground geology of Michigan, which again was covered in ice multiple times over the past like million years or so, we've had eight or nine ice age cycles where ice sheets formed and they receded, and they formed and they receded. The last one was a really large one, and that's the one that we all have been learning about. Yeah, so if you look at in that center picture there, that's the bedrock geology of Michigan. If you look at it, it's like a ringed bullseye.
Yeah. It's
Yeah. Oh wow.
It really is.
Yeah. And so again, and I mean, you guys have a small channel, right? There's not very many people that see this, right?
No, it's just us.
It's just a couple.
Okay.
It's just us. Yeah.
It's just us.
We'll
but
keep it secret.
yeah, I mean,
Chat's
that looks
really
like
good
a-
at keeping a secret, by
I
the
know
way.
they
They're the
are. I
best.
know they are. Yeah.
Tears.
But yeah, that looks like a ring bullseye where, if you had a mile or two of ice on top of Michigan and it just got punched, it almost looks like a catcher's mitt. If you look at like the
It
whole
does.
area itself,
Yeah.
in fact, it's the mitten of
that's
Michigan.
how they go. I'm from
Right.
here. I'm from here.
Yeah.
I'm from here.
Yeah. And look at the center of it. Look at the center of the mitten
Yeah.
of Michigan. And I think that you mentioned Saginaw Bay. I think that kind of shows directionality. I think that there was an impact into the ice sheet at some time in the past, and we can talk about that here in a little bit. But I think it was sometime in the past, and it hit that ice, and the ejecta, the secondary ejecta, was launched from that site. And it came crashing back down in places like the Carolinas and in Nebraska and everywhere else.
Mhm.
So
Maybe
I think
the
that's
direction it came in was actually from the southwest, and that's
what
why
I'm thinking,
we're
yeah.
not finding a lot of stuff in that direction.
Mhm.
And you make a really
True.
good point in one of your videos on your channel. I don't remember which one, but you were talking about how it wasn't just the ejecta that created the bays. It was also the aftermath of
Right.
You talk about the 60 minutes after impact
Mhm.
and how much water would have washed through there and totally remade it again. And I don't think that all these, the legacy archaeologists are taking that into account. I don't
Yeah.
even think they want to acknowledge an impact theory at all. But
No,
I mean, There's only a matter of time before they have to.
No,
This
and you know the real big problem with that is that a lot of the guys that are against Carolina Bays being impact related are actually in the Comet Research Group. Like these are
Really?
guys that are like the
Really?
the director of the Comet Research Group, Dr. Christopher Moore. He's like one of the number one researchers that are like,
Retractor?
no, this is wind and water. This is wind and water. You just
Huh.
yeah, it's really
Okay.
strange. You think that they would be all on board? And if you watch my the pseudo Carolina Bay presentation for last year, I talk about the story of telling Chris it's almost like you walked to the top of a high dive, and you just can't jump off the edge. And then of course, me being me, I sent him that image of the Filipino diving team just belly flopping into the swimming pool during the
I
Olympics.
saw it. That's so good. That's good that y'all can get along still, and that's the importance of this the conference, because I mean, like, you got to understand the positions he's in. Like, he's been, as you mentioned, writing paper after paper on this, been a champion of it, but you still gotta play the game a little bit. I know, like, mad respect to that guy, but you still gotta
and I kind of and I kind of feel like he's like, can we just focus on the younger Dryas first? Once that's settled, then we'll look at the Carolina Bays.
Yeah.
Just shut up for right now, because it's muddying everything up. Can you just back off a little bit, dude?
I disagree with that completely. That's ridiculous.
And you go, no, I'll be the
part
dude
of
who
the big
obsesses
picture.
about let me obsess about the Carolina Bays, and you go do your thing.
Yeah.
And then we
Things-
converge and then compare notes.
Later.
Things can happen concurrently. It's wild to just concentrate on one thing.
That's what that's why I love Randall so much. He likes to look at all different avenues, and that's how you should look at pretty much everything.
Well, and then you can see patterns like unfold in front of you.
Well, and this still keeps people engaged in it. Other factors, other possibilities, and whatever the truth is, hopefully we find it out. Something definitely happened. We've said this before. During the Younger Dryas, something drastic happened. It wasn't just it just didn't the temperature just didn't magically change. There was too many cars. That was it. There was too many cars. There's too many fossil fuels, and drastic climate change happened. It's
We
weird.
needed Greta Thunberg back then, to really help. She could have saved us.
There was I'm gonna reel that one back in. We have a guest.
And I feel like we're so close. I feel like it's just like one or two papers away where people are, the academics that are against it are gonna be like, you know what, you guys, you might have a point, and I just feel like we're like right there on the cusp, and we just can't get there yet.
We just need to get their peanut butter with your chocolate and get it together. And then
Isn't
it'll
there-
make a
Then it
Isn't
makes
there-
a Reese's.
What are the sphericals or the sphericals? What are those?
Microspherals.
The microsphericals all over the East Coast, right?
Yeah, and they
Isn't that
found some
more
in Carolina
proof?
Bays. That was one of the first places
What
that
a
they
surprise.
looked was in the rims of Carolina Bays, and they found microspherules, they found iridium. But here's the thing, though, is that they found those in a layer within the rims of the Carolina Bays. So were the bays already there?
Yeah.
And they trapped that destruction that happened at the Younger Dryas. That's just one of the big things that I've been trying to bring up with these Carolina Bays, is that there is a really big possibility that they are actually older, and it was another impact, during the Pleistocene that actually, and so these bays have just been laying there in the landscapes for 800,000 years or so, just collecting sediment.
There is theories that say that the Younger Dryas event wasn't just one impact at one moment. It was a span of I don't remember, 800 years or something. There was a huge impact, and then everything kind of refroze, and then another major one, and that was the last one that was really cataclysmic.
Well, I can say
that's actually what it is.
Yeah, if the Carolina Bays formed as an impact, that was a major impact, a singular major impact. Right now, what the evidence is showing is that the Younger Dryas was a series of bolides that we crossed paths with the tail of a comet, and we just got, it was just like a really explosive meteor shower, and they were just blowing up in the sky, and that's the evidence they're showing right now, and that's why they can't really find good solid impact evidence or craters from the Younger Dryas, and they're finding a lot of really good evidence, and I'm totally on board with there being a major impact event that took place at the Younger Dryas, but I'm not sure if it was what created the Carolina Bays.
Right.
That's still in question.
Yeah. In fact, like this slide right here, this is from my presentation. I think I had it in both years, my first year at the Cosmic Summit and last year. And it shows the two different probabilities. Obviously, Antonio Zamora, he's actually going to be at the Cosmic Summit this year. He's speaking with me, which I'm excited about. Yeah, I've been riding on his coattails and Michael Davies's coattails for 10 years now. And I'm really excited to give him an opportunity to kind of speak. He has like zero interest in talking on podcasts, zero interest in speaking at engagements like the Cosmic Summit. He's kind of doing it as a favor to me. Like at the end of last year, I kind of reached out and I was like, Tony, I've kind of said everything that I wanted to say about Carolina Bays, but I'd really, if we can get you on the stage, then we might be able to go one more year.
That's who I want to hear from.
Yeah. And he was like, yeah, he said, let's do it. And in fact, when we agreed to speak at the Cosmic Summit, we also agreed that we needed to have something more substantial to discuss than what we have been talking about. And at the end of last year's Cosmic Summit, up until just a couple weeks ago, we had been working on a scientific paper, and that paper went out at the 1st of June. And so we actually have a published, peer-reviewed scientific journal article in the Journal of Environmental and Earth Sciences. So it's a pretty big deal.
Is that what you sent us?
Link,
X-ray?
Yeah, link in the
Yeah.
description.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
you guys want to go see it, go check it out.
A good
It is
read.
in the description. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And I will publicly announce this at the Cosmic Summit on Saturday.
Yeah.
So all of you that are in the chat,
So
just
It's a very private
You know?
event
Yeah.
right now.
keep it,
yes.
Keep it
But
on the DL.
that was a big deal for us to actually
Small
get together.
arms.
Mhm.
That's awesome. That's brilliant. So why don't you tell us, okay, so the Carolina, give me like your theory, like build up your theory of what made the Carolina Bays.
Yeah, so I do think that they are impact related, obviously, and I think that the impact took place over Michigan. I think that it happened over Michigan when there was a tremendous amount of ice on top of it, because we know that it happens. We know that it happens more than once, multiple times. We have ice that forms on top of North America, and at some time in the past, there was a major impact, and the ejected ice got lofted up into the atmosphere and came crashing back down, forming the elliptical shapes that we find here, where we find these Carolina Bays. Now, when it comes to the timing of it, again, for a long time, I was totally on board with Antonio Zamora. He does think that these happened during the Younger Dryas. Like, he's big time into the Younger Dryas. And he has a lot of good points. One of the things that he brings up is, how in the heck did we lose all of the megafauna? Like 50% of the megafauna, or it was 73% in North America when it was
I think
gone.
even more than that.
Yeah. And so like the amount of megafauna that we have on the Earth today disappeared during that Younger Dryas time frame. And and that was what kind of kept me in. I was like, that's such a good point, that something major had to have happened during that time. Now, again, like I said, during this whole time, I was getting pushback from Chris Moore and Malcolm LeCompte. He'll be speaking at the Cosmic Summit, and these are Comet Research Group guys that are like, the Carolina Bays had nothing to do with the Younger Dryas. Can we back away from that? And that kind of led me down another path that Michael Davies. Now, Michael Davies has a website at centos.org. And he's the one who provides a lot of the USGS like LiDAR, and he makes it accessible so that we can actually look at it using Google Earth. So all of you, like everyone who's listening right now, can go on to centos.org and use his
research. I was in there. There's a lot of good research stuff in there.
And there's a link in there. I can't remember where it is. It's somewhere in there, but there's a link to his actual ovoid basin survey. And you can pull up, he has the entire continental United States covered in this LiDAR, and he's colored it using a color pattern that repeats itself every 10 meters. So if you start at the ocean surface, like it's blue, and the next time you see blue, it's 10 meters up, and then it keeps going up from there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. Which it really helps when you're on really flat terrain, which the coastal plain is really, really flat. And in fact, that was what kind of made me kind of start thinking that this was another time framed event, because Michael Davies thinks that these occurred during the mid-Pleistocene. He thinks that they occurred around 890,000 years ago, 886,000 years ago.
Wow, long time ago.
So it is a long time ago, and we actually have evidence of an impact that took place at that time. You may have heard of the AA tektites, the Australian Asian tektites. They find these tektites all across Australia, all across South Asia, and they're melt glass. They are, sandstone that was impacted, launched into the atmosphere, and came back down as these like tear-shaped or button-shaped. They kind of look like meteorites, but they're from the Earth. That's what a tektite is. And they find those all around South Asia and in Australia, but that's the antipod of Michigan. And so Michael Davies and his research partner, whose name is Thomas Harris, he's the one he worked for Lockheed Martin and Boeing, and some of his predecessors were like they were nuclear engineers, and the physics that they used for ballistic missiles he used on the AA tektites, and was like, well, if we find them here, if we track them back, they all point back to Michigan. and not only do they point back to Michigan, but the chemistry of the AA tektites matches the sandstones of Michigan that we see with that Michigan Basin, which is really kind of neat. Yeah, it's really, really interesting. So that's what first made me think, well, maybe this guy might be onto something, and that they are a little bit later. Now, he's got a whole other range of hypotheses for how Carolina Bay is formed. He thinks, instead of it being ice, he thinks that the impact into Michigan formed a cavitated ejecta regolith blanket.
Say that again.
Okay. A cavitated ejecta regolith blanket. Regolith is like, it's the sandstone, it's the rocks and stuff like that. He thinks that the impact happened into Saginaw Bay, and that there was a wash of sand and melted glacial water, and all of that kind of flowed over North America, and it was actually bubbles, like drying paint forms bubbles, and that's what created the Carolina Bays. It's a lot. There's a lot of pieces to that, and that's one of the things I'm like, I don't know, man. There's a lot that has to happen for that to occur.
And it'd be perfectly
exactly
basically the same shape all over.
Basically, but not.
That'd be tough.
Not mathematically elliptical, which is what we find for most of these Carolina Bays. So again, through this whole process, I was like, I think Antonio Zamora might be right about how these things formed. I think, because he thinks that there was an impact into an ice sheet at the Younger Dryas, and it sent off chunks of ice, and they were like boulders of ice that were launched from the ejecta site and then came crashing back down into where we find Carolina Bays today. You mentioned the liquefaction of the soil, the shaking of the ground, and that's what kind of solidified the raised rims of the Carolina Bays. Like I said, I kind of agree with him on that hypothesis. But when it comes to the timing, I think that Michael Davies and Thomas Harris may be more on board with when it actually happened. And the reason why I think that is because along the coast, we have ancient barrier islands. And if you go to these ancient barrier islands, there are no Carolina Bays below them. None. Like all the way up and down the East Coast, we don't find any Carolina Bays. From around 30 meters up, they're completely missing from the landscape. If you go above that, you start finding some. But below that, you don't find any. And the reason why that's important is because around 125,000 years ago was the last time we had an interglacial. Right now, we live in an interglacial, right? Greta Thunberg tells us all about it. because
Yes, he does.
because the ice caps have melted and sea levels rose, and they've been pretty stable for about 10,000 years. The sea levels have been stable for around 6,000 years. But the last time that happened was 125,000 years ago. It was during the Eemian time period, and you don't find any Carolina bays below that last shoreline. That's what's interesting about it, is you can actually go back and find these old shorelines, and they're well dated, and there's no Carolina bays below them. And so what I'm thinking is that they were there because we actually find some that are like truncated in half, like the sea levels rose, you had a whole beach system there. There's no Carolina bays below them, but you find them above them, and some of them are like cut in half by that old beach. So I have to think that the only way that could happen is that they were there when that last time that happened 125,000 years ago. And I think there's evidence to show that they were there 400,000 yeers, which was the last time before that the sea levels were higher. And we can use, we're actually using the ice core data. The ice, they've been collecting ice core data from Greenland and Antarctica, and matching those up to when these ice ages took place. And again, so we've had like 7 or 8 of them over the past million years or so. But the one that occurred at 125,000 years and the one that occurred around 400,000 years, we find some really interesting data for where we find Carolina bays, and more importantly, where we don't find them. And that's why when you look at that image right there, that's the Delmarva Peninsula. Maryland, Virginia, Delaware, and you only find them in that center portion of the Delmarva Peninsula, and everywhere on either side of it they're gone, they're missing. You do find a couple there, but these are in areas that are gradually sinking. This is actually a terrible example because like this area is actually sinking.
Really?
Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
There's actual documented subsidence is taking place where it's slowly sinking, kind of like Louisiana. New Orleans is slowly sinking. That's happening here as well. And
so you think that,
but it is a stark difference.
There is all the way up and down the east coast. Yes.
Yeah.
I mentioned the 60 minutes after that, the last impact that hit.
Yeah.
That amount of water, that if it did raise the ocean 400 feet, that amount of water rushing over there could have decimated half of those. You mentioned the truncated ones that weren't cut in half. I mean,
right.
Who's to say the water didn't rush in and pull those out?
Yeah. So the 400 feet didn't happen instantly. It was over a couple thousand years. We had the meltwater pulse. You've heard of the meltwater pulses.
Yeah.
1A and B and things like that. They happen in different stages. And we actually have evidence of Native Americans living in
different sections,
like underwater today. Like if you go, there's a place off the coast of Georgia called Gray's Reef. And it's a chert outcrop, and it's a really good coral reef now. And there's not a lot of coral reefs in Georgia, so it's kind of important that it's nationally protected and things like that. But they have
found in Lake Michigan.
Exactly, yeah. But they've also found evidence of Native Americans, the Clovis people, removing chert from this outcropping, before sea levels rose, and that's gosh, what is it? It's like 40 miles offshore and 70 feet lower than it is today. And that's dated to 13,000 years. That's dated to the Younger Dryas. So that was, they were living there, getting stone tool material, when sea levels were a lot lower at the Younger Dryas. So again, sea levels were much farther away. We have, you've heard of the Topper site? The Topper site's in South Carolina. It's one of the oldest Clovis sites that we've been able to find. And Al Goodyear, he's an archaeologist. He thinks he has evidence that the Topper site may go back like 50,000 years. Like it could go really, really, really far back. Yeah,
I'm gonna get in trouble for that one.
I know. Yeah. But that's the evidence. That's what it shows. So
yeah. I remember. I don't know if this is right, but I think. My memory sucks, but Georgia and Carolina were like a lot different prior to the Younger Dryas. They had boreal forests. Is that what Randall was talking about? or or it like because it was so much colder, there was like pine trees and stuff, and they find evidence of those underwater now. There's drowned forests, or not, they found evidence of it. How would that affect the age of the Carolina Bays?
I would think so. I would think so. I know. I mean, I don't know. I know that there have been a couple Carolina Bays where they found like really old. I don't know if they're petrified, like stumps down at the bottom of them. I'm not real sure, but I know that if you go to some right now, you'll find the same thing where you find stumps that are growing today inside of these Carolina Bays. And so I don't know if that's a good judge of when they formed by dating, like carbon dating. That doesn't help at all. Even the OSL dating doesn't help, because OSL dating only goes back around 300,000 years. And if these things happened during the mid-Pleistocene, whenever these AA tektites were formed, then we don't have a dating method to date that far back, especially for formation. That's why I said that I think that the dates that they're getting are erosional events. And I think the Younger Dryas was a major erosional event. We have evidence of that, lots of evidence of it. And I think that's recorded. And I think they did a really good job recording it. And that should help prove the Younger Dryas. And that's one of the things, like, and I know that there's probably the chats are probably going crazy, because I am suggesting that these are older than the Younger Dryas. and people don't like that. They usually, they're like, oh, whatever, this guy's an idiot. but there's a lot of evidence to suggest that, yes, there was something that happened at the Younger Dryas. I just think that a lot of that evidence is found in the Carolina Bays, which means that they had to have been there. They had to have already been there. And, these things are ancient. They're really, really, really old. Yep. Which
kind of supports the idea of this being a cycle of this danger of a meteor coming down, hitting again and again on this, who knows what the year cycle is, but it's continues.
And it very well could have been the mid-Pleistocene transition impact, because again, for that amount of ice to be launched from Michigan to come crashing back, because these Carolina Bays, the images don't do them justice. They're like miles wide. They're huge. They're really, really, really large. So for something like that to take place, it was a huge event. And in fact, I think that it was such a big event that the Younger Dryas is like small potatoes compared to what happened when the Carolina Bays were formed. We actually find evidence there is a mid-Pleistocene transition extinction that took place. It's hard because we're just learning about the Younger Dryas extinction event, right? Like, we still just a couple years ago, people were still saying we hunted them to death, and it took guys like us to be like, you guys, I don't think so, man. That just doesn't make sense. And it's finally starting to catch on, and now that whole Clovis first thing has kind of gone into the back seat.
Oh yeah.
And now they're like, oh, we kind of always knew that, but it's really, over the past 10 years, we have seen a huge shift in a lot of our thinking about this stuff. And I forget where I was going with that.
Well, I think there was a civilization of human beings that lived in North America, or all of the Americas.
Absolutely. And sometimes I get pulled in to kind of be to talk about Hancock and his ideas and things like that. And I there's so much of our history that is covered in ocean water today. I don't think we're giving ourselves enough credit. And I'll be here, I'll tell you firsthand that the textbooks that we have at the high school level, we didn't even talk about this, but I am a high school educator. And the textbooks that we have at the high school literally go from us being babbling cavemen, ooga booga, to growing crops around our huts, for 10,000 years. And then 300 years ago, we were like, oh, wait, we got fossil fuels that we can burn, and now we can make tractors and stuff. And that's how it's taught. Like, that's how we teach, human civilization 10,000 years ago. Well, what happened 10,000 years ago? We came out of the Younger Dryas and sea levels rose, as you mentioned, the sea levels were rising up to 400 feet. All of that. We have always been a coastal species.
All of us.
All of us. And,
look at every single major city on the planet is on water.
Exactly.
In every single one.
And if the sea level went whoosh, that's all gone.
We need to start looking 400 feet down.
Well, I mean, that's gradualism. I mean, like the earth wobbles. We understand that, but like some of the drastic things, the 5 extinction events we've had have all something, be it volcanoes, something drastic had to happen.
Yeah.
For us to be a snowball. I was just looking up the highest the water levels ever were 117 million years ago, and they were like it was like 700 feet higher than they are now.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that's the highest the water's ever been. And then what you were talking about 117,000 years ago,
Waterworld,
it was 20 feet higher, than it is now.
Okay.
So that the impact where they found microspherules over Asia and Australia, do they think they know? Does anybody have any idea like where that was?
No, they don't. They don't know. That's one of the things that Michael Davies and Thomas Harris have brought up is like we don't know where this impact. We find you can go online and just look up tektites and like eBay has them for sale, and you can go they sell them by the piles because you can dig them out of the ground, and they know that they go back 786,000 years. They were created at that time. They find them in the layers that happened during that time, but they can't find the crater form. Now there is a couple years ago, a paper came out that they think that they formed in Malaysia, and there was a impact, and now it's covered up in volcanic lava, and we can't find it anymore. There's like a trap a volcanic trap where like lava spewed out, and they were like, oh well, the crater's under there, that's where they came from. But again, I just point out that the antipod is the exact opposite end of the globe. Like if an impact happened here, these things were launched into space, and then they came down on the opposite end of the globe, and that's what we find with these AA tektites. But again,
is that what you think happened?
That's what I think happened. Yeah, and like I said,
kicked them into the atmosphere. They went for a flight.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must have been a really bad impact.
Yeah.
Well, and again, if you look at the size of those Carolina bays, they're not small. They're huge. This would have been a major deal.
And actually, this is the fact that they're so shallow. A lot of them are very shallow. I mean, some of them are actually a lot deeper, but it makes sense that they were there a lot longer. And then all of the, like Garrett said, the cyclical nature. If water just kept rushing over them for hundreds of thousands of years, potentially, like that would explain how they're there, but they've been whittled away to like nothing.
It also filled with sediment and other things,
right?
Filling it,
right. And they do find peat in some, like peat that forms from this decayed material, because this is basically a swamp now because it is holding that water in there. When it rains, it gets trapped in there. A lot of them, there is no exit route for water to leave. In some of these Carolina bays, they find peat that date back really old, like 300,000 year old peat, things that have actually, they're so old that they can't be carbon dated anymore. And again, if that's true, then the Younger Dryas is out. Like it can't be a possibility. Which sucks, because again, for years I thought it was. But
what does George Howard think about that?
He stays away from it.
Come on, George.
No, that's why he has Antonio Zamora and myself speaking at the Cosmic Summit.
Oh, there you go.
I love that. I love that.
Right.
Because Antonio still thinks that the Carolina bays formed in Younger Dryas, and he has some good reasons to think that. There have been a couple Carolina bays that they have dated. Some of the guys from the Comet Research Group have done this dating, and there is something called inverted stratigraphy in these bays right at 13,000 years, which is interesting, right? They actually go down. It'll be part of our presentation this year, but they go down through the layers. They whenever they do this dating, they don't just do dating in one spot, right? They go from the top and they work their way down through the layer. And for OSL dating, it has to be really specific. The core isn't down; it has to be horizontal, and because light can't touch it. If sunlight touches the sand, it resets the dating on it.
The test, right?
So they have to take a core in vertically into the sand layer and completely cover it up, take it into a dark room, and extract sand grades from it, do the testing on it, and then they could tell how long or the last time sunlight had touched that sand of silica, and that grain of silica.
Pretty cool.
It is
Yeah,
really
it is
cool.
neat.
Yeah.
It is a neat dating
That's
method,
cool.
right? And that's why I've
pretty
said
friggin' cool.
that's why I've said I don't disagree with their dating method because it's really cool.
Mhm.
You know, and
Yeah.
so, but they start off, it's like 5,000 years ago, 8,000 years ago, and then they get to the Younger Dryas, and it's like 18,000 years ago, 13,000 years ago, and
Weird.
then back to like 20,000 years ago, and it's like, well, that is weird.
Mm.
You know, they're now again, I think that they're recording an erosional event, and so we have this happening where the erosion, blew sand around and reset things. And if it happens at night, then you're not going to have that reset with the OSL sunlight data. So regardless, he has a good point to think that it did happen at the Younger Dryas, because there have been 2 times where that has been recorded in scientific papers that they had inverted stratigraphy from a Carolina Bay rim going down. I just think that the Paleoatlantic shoreline data, which is what I was talking about, where you don't find Carolina Bays below certain points, I think that's a stronger point of evidence to suggest that they are older. So again, it's a debate. It's kind of fun, It's what makes it interesting.
To me, that your idea of them being older makes the Younger Dryas more plausible, because like here's another evidence that it happened right here at this level.
Yeah,
So,
and that's what I've been
really
saying. You can go back and watch my old Cosmic Summit presentations, but that's what I've been saying is like, regardless, it adds strength to both hypotheses if they're found to be older. It would remove the Carolina Bays from the Younger Dryas story, like the Comet Research Group wants to do, right? They're not part of that story anymore. Let's finish that, right? And then it opens up, well, what happened during the mid-Pleistocene?
Yeah.
Right. And there's all kinds of other evidence. The last time we went through a major pole reversal, like the geomagnetic pole reversal, we've had a couple wobbles, over the past, throughout the last ice age or so. But the last time there was a complete shift in the poles was during the mid-Pleistocene. It happened around 800,000 years ago. We have 99% of the human genome, the genetics from 800,000 years ago, which we weren't there yet. Like Homo sapiens weren't there yet, but our ancestors were. There was a bottleneck of DNA that was like 99% of our DNA almost vanished from the planet 800,000 years ago, 786,000 years ago. So all these things kind of line up, and it's like there was a big time. There's a benthic foraminifera extinction. Benthic foraminifera are like the single, like the phytoplankton, the plankton that lives in the oceans. There was almost a complete collapse of plankton in the oceans where they all dropped dead. And we have evidence of that, right? But what the hell? What was happening?
They're the lungs of the planet. They create a lot of oxygen. So you can imagine what that did for the entire planet. And
if we have evidence of that, what was happening on the land that we haven't even gotten to yet? Like I said, we're still trying to figure out 13,000 years ago. When we go back 800,000 years and start looking at that stuff, what are we going to find? I don't think anybody's looking, and I think we're going to find some cool stuff.
That I think that's part of the problem. That's why it's good to talk about this in total, right? Like we need to find out
exactly,
because Randall's brought up there's possibly an impact from 5,000 years ago. That's and like nobody really knows about it, but a lot of bad things happened back then. So it's important for us to know so we can prepare for it. Like what is even a pole shift? I mean, I know Ben from Suspicious Observer's version of a pole shift, which is terrifying. But like, there's multiple versions of what does that even look like?
His is coupled. Go ahead. Sorry.
Are we just getting fried with radiation, or do we get killed by a 3,000-foot tsunami? I don't know.
I would be more concerned about the solar radiation. I think that would be a big time. Yeah. Because right now we have like a protected layer. We have something that's protecting us, and we see it. Exactly. It's like we see the northern lights, and we're like, oh, that's beautiful. Did you guys get a chance to see them this summer?
Dude, I look every night. I'm way further north.
I was
than
in Texas,
and I don't see them.
They saw them They saw them in all the cool places. I didn't see anything.
Yeah, I got them in coastal Georgia, and I was amazed. I was this is a once in a lifetime event, and then like 3 days later, it happened again.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
So yeah. So again, I think we have this protective layer that is protecting us.
Thankfully.
But if the geomagnetic poles weakened as whatever was happening, during this flop, I do think that those the UV rays would be intense. Killing off microscopic organisms, giving us skin cancers and cataracts and all kinds of crazy stuff like that.
I was just going to mention about Ben that his whole theory is about the micronova that actually fried our whole shield for a while because but then he's saying that if it happened while it was shifting, that's why it was so explosive 12,000 years ago. So although I'm leaning more towards the impact theory, but I'm open to the idea that both could have happened.
So here's my thing.
That's why it was so bad.
Yeah.
Do you know about this theory? What do you think about that?
Yeah. So here's my thing about micronovas. And I know Ben has a really strong following of members that are really into this. And I know I'm not even going to read your comments because I know that they're just going to start.
Interesting preface. Go on.
We're nice here. It's all good.
If the sun were to have some kind of micronova event, we wouldn't be here. Like I do a lab, and I mentioned this last year. I mentioned it somewhere else, but I do a lab in my classroom where we try to make a scale model of the solar system. And the first thing we do is we make a sun that's, it's actually much bigger than that. It's about the size of like 4 sheets of paper. And if the sun was that big, the Earth would be like smaller than a pebble. It's so tiny compared to how big the sun is. And if there was to be a nova event, like that little tiny pebble would be scorched to a crisp. It would be gone. We would, if that were to happen, we wouldn't even be talking about the Younger Dryas or mid-Pleistocene, any of that stuff.
Good point.
Yeah, I think that the whole, the whole half of the Earth that
you
was
put it that way.
Yeah, just about, and it wouldn't even you wouldn't even see it if you zoomed out. It would just be like, beep.
Right. And what they're using for evidence is like localized. Like they find, the what's the vitrified stone that's been like turned to melt, and they're like, that's what they say was from a micronova. That is much more supported with an impact, a bolide event, which is what we're finding a lot of evidence for. Did you guys hear that they just had a paper come out about a bolide that took place in Louisiana?
No.
Yeah, they found they just wrote a paper. The Comet Research Group put out a paper.
Oh yes, they released it the day George was on my show. That's right.
Yeah, just like
that's
where
right.
they
Hold on,
found evidence, and it doesn't even look like a crater. It's like just kind of like a scour in Louisiana, and but they found all the proxies that we look for when it comes to impact events, and it goes back to the Younger Dryas. It goes back to that time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, really interesting. And they're finding there was also like within this week, there was a Russian team that put out a paper suggesting that they're finding impact proxies in Russia, which adds a whole nother huge chunk of the area, the land of Earth that was covered in this proxy data 13,000 years ago. So it definitely something happened 13,000 years ago. I don't want to downplay it.
Well, it's the something happened twice within within a couple of thousand years or 1,500 years.
Yeah.
That's the real bizarre thing is the rapid drop and then the rapid increase, relatively speaking, right? And I know like Randall's talked about like this happened in the Younger Dryas case like over weeks, maybe which is insane.
It could be years. It could be a couple year period of time because when just like today, we know when these meteor showers are going to take place, which is really interesting too. When you think about like astrology, like the study of like why I'm a Scorpio, right? And you guys have your astrological signs. Why do we even know that? Like, why do we even pass that information on? And we're actually passing on, deep knowledge of the Earth's place in space, which is really neat.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right? What is
bigger
the point,
than us?
Though? Yeah, right. What is the point? Well, the point is we get pelted by these things.
Yeah,
and we're able to map them and track them, and we've been doing that for at least 12,000 years.
Yeah, ever like almost. I mean, all of human history. It's very, very important to humans. What's going on up there?
Well, they could see it a lot better back then.
Yeah.
And they probably had a good idea like, hey, there's a new light in the sky. It's getting bigger.
What is that?
That's kind of
And
neat.
then
Oh, no,
when
it's
something
not.
happened,
Yeah.
if they survived, they were like, "Hey, this is very, very important for you all to know, and you should pass it down
Yep.
to your ancestors." So yeah,
We should
Very-
carve in relief.
Yes,
Yes.
Exactly how it
Suddenly.
happened.
That'll last.
That'll
It
get
did.
'em.
They weren't wrong. It lasted a
Nope.
long time. It did.
It's true.
So one of the things you pointed out is these Carolina bays look like you said just kick some water on a beach if you want to
Yeah.
like, and that's what they look like. They
Yeah. I have an image on one of my PowerPoints where if you go to the beach and you kick just some water, and that's exactly what happened, right? You have an impact into water. It's frozen water at that time, right? And the droplets come crashing back down onto the beach sand, and they form perfect Carolina bays. Scale invariant, right? We've been following Randall. We know what scale invariance means, right?
Yep.
But it's a perfect demonstration. Now, the wind and water crowd, they've been pointing their fingers at a 1977 PhD dissertation by Ray Kalzaworski from 1977. That's the year I was born, and that's what they're still pointing at as evidence. And he didn't form a Carolina Bay. He formed this like weird like football shaped thing. It's really wonky shaped. And he actually created a really good oriented lake, but he did not create a perfect ellipse. And again, this year at the Cosmic Summit, that's what Antonio Zamora is going to focus on, is the math, the geometry that goes into Carolina Bays and what makes them so unique, like so different from all of those pseudo Carolina Bays that we find around the planet.
Now, these bays are coupled with the Nebraska rainwater basin. Are those also mathematically equivalent?
Yep.
They are.
Yep. They're almost identical. If you were to look at them, the only difference is that one points this way and the other one points the opposite direction.
Right. They're in the other.
Yeah, that image right
Which
there.
you can see here. Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. So the one, one side we see the Carolina Bays. I do have that image in the middle. That's the image that Ray Kalzaworski put out in his PhD paper. That's not an ellipse. It's like I said, it's like a wonky football. Not only that, but to do this experiment, they started with a circular depression. They took a sand table and they depressed a circle, which I don't know about you guys, but like that's a crater. Like if you a circular depression is a crater.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they filled it with water and blew. He literally took a fan and blew it in one direction for 40. I think it was like 15 minutes, and then the other direction for 15 minutes. And he did that for 4 hours, both sides. And that's what they use as evidence that these were created by wind and water. Again, if I go to the beach, I can kick water in the sand and create. If you scroll down to the bottom of that presentation, like one of the last slides, I think there's.
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, that's what I.
Oh,
that's
that
what
dude.
I was looking for. That's what I was looking for.
Yep.
Yep.
And water's very fractal. Like you go to a creek and you can see, this looks like the Grand Canyon at a very super small scale. So that makes total sense. Yeah.
And I think too that the glacial ice is different from like frozen water. Like if you freeze water in a freezer, it freezes solid, right? But glacial ice is formed by layer after layer after layer of snowfall, and it actually creates what's called firn, FIRN. And they call it plastic. It's foldable and it bends and things like that. And an impact into glacial ice doesn't scatter like a frozen block of ice would. It would be more absorbent. And I think that the ejecta was highly, highly fractured glacial ice. Highly fractured glacial ice. Antonio Zamora thinks that these would have been like solid ice chunks and that they would have remained solid all the way through their space flight. But I think that they were highly fractured. And as they were coming back down, they heated back up, making it more liquidy. But that highly fractured core was still there. And when those things hit the unconsolidated coastal plain, just like in that image, just like kicking water onto the beach, they created these giant elliptical shaped depressions with raised sandy rims with orientation back to where they came from, just like your foot kicking water. It literally points back to where you kicked it. It's like a blood blood scatter forensics, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, a forensic
Mhm.
scientist will go and look at blood splatter patterns, which are elliptical shaped droplets.
Right.
And they can actually detect exactly where a person was stabbed or whatever, you know, and use that forensics for that.
Have you ever gotten one of those guys, one of those investigators, to kind of look at this and be like, on a scale, where do you think these
Good point.
came from?
Well, that's why I'm talking with you guys. There's got to be somebody watching this right
That
now.
would be great. I love the idea.
Any
of
Dexters
bringing
out there?
different-
Yeah.
No?
different research heads together and kind of put you.
Yeah.
What do you think in your line of work, in your study? What does this look like to you?
Right.
And just use it as a hypothesis, just ideas.
Yeah, Antonio Zamora has taken pictures of Carolina bays and show them to geologists, and they'll look at it and be like, "Well, what planet did this come from?" You know, because they recognize them instantly as impacts, and they're like, "Well, what planet did this come from?" He's like, "This is South Carolina. This is Earth."
Huh.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's
funny.
It's green. You know.
Yeah.
So okay, so directional, right? So that means does the rim? I mean, it's probably too far eroded, but is the rim pretty uniform? Is it higher on, like, say the water hits and it spits out that way? Is the rim higher on this
We
side?
we don't really find spitting out though. That's the thing. It's like these
Okay.
things came down and they plugged the ground,
Okay.
and that's why in the paper that Antonio Zamora and I wrote, you know, it's more of a it's more of a conic section. You know, the energy hit the ground, and the energy was into the ground, but the eject, you know, not, I don't want to use the word ejecta, but the shape or the energy was dispensed, forming that elliptical shape.
I think that's evidence more for what your theory is with the fern from the glacial ice, not like a solid chunk of ice that would have exploded again and when it hit and then caused more of cratering instead of just a flop.
Yeah,
Like
and
the
that wasn't
beach
mentioned
sand,
at
you know,
all in the
kick
paper.
beach
Right.
sand. Yeah, but I mean, I can see that though.
Yeah,
That
more
makes
more
sense.
the energy continued in, you know, but the actual impact itself hit the surface, and just like if you kick water on the beach, like really, if you do it, all of you can experiment with it, you know, and see these elliptical shaped depressions that form from just water. But again, if you have highly fractured ice, you know, and water has really neat characteristics. You know, we have adhesion and cohesion. Water sticks together, and it does a lot of. And when you apply a tremendous amount of energy, you know, there's.
Well, I got to bring up. I have to bring up again because we're looking at this as though that's what it looked like after they landed, but that's not what happened. They landed, and then a lot of water just went whoosh over all of it. You know, so like any spratterings would have been gone, and what would have been left is just the perfect eclipses.
Well, the thing is,
you know,
the water was maintained within those rims, though. That's the thing. Like, we would see the water escaping these rims, but that's not what happened. And that's why I think a lot of the academic scientists are like, you know, well, they were ponds. Well, when did that water arrive? When did it become part of, you know, when did we find that water there? And how much of them maintain that water afterwards? I don't think it's that many. We actually, like, literally, we find thousands and thousands and thousands of these things. It's not quite. If you look up Wikipedia, they say that there's like 500,000 of them. It's not that many. There's actually more, like around 70,000 of them, which is still a lot. There's still a tremendous amount, and I'm sure there's some that
don't trust Wikipedia. Is that your?
I don't trust them at all anymore. No.
No.
Good to know.
They're good for sourcing links to bad entertainment websites. That's about it.
Yeah,
that's about it.
Yeah.
That would have been.
Who did you have on that was talking about like John Hoops, and was that Mark Young?
Yes.
Yeah, he was great.
Yes.
Yeah. We've been for like firsthand witnesses to guys like that, you know, changing and manipulating data for their own purposes, and it's awful. It's awful. Like, I don't even look, like, I don't even know what the Wikipedia page says for Carolina Bays anymore, because I just don't even care to look at it.
I wouldn't bother. Yeah. No, if you see some of the editors on the page, you would completely understand. Like a failed fanfic writer is one of the big editors on that. Just
oh my god,
yeah, it's just terrible.
Yeah, and you can go into like the talk section of Wikipedia and actually go back and see when changes were made, and you're like, yeah, there's like a whole list of dickheads that are just always changing things, you know, and It's bad.
I like to use it just to understand the what people, if they come at it from just a normie perspective, if they look up Carolina Bays, what are they going to get hit with? You know, it's
unfortunately
good
they're going to get hit
that.
with what's on Wikipedia.
Yeah. Hail Cosmic Summit, by the way, for being that's part of the problem. And you can't really make an alternative because it's so entrenched. So you just have to just keep doing shows like this, keep doing conferences, keep talking about it, because
and writing papers and actually putting it into the scientific literature. You know, when I started, I have a YouTube channel. It's the Dabbler's Den, and when I first started putting together these videos, I wasn't doing it for you guys. I wasn't doing it for the guys that are commenting, the people that are commenting in the comment section. It was for the researchers. It was for the Dr. Christopher Moores, and it was for these guys. I was like, listen, this is so in our face. Can we just agree that these at least weren't created by wind and water, and then we can go from there? But it hasn't happened yet. It hasn't happened yet. So again, we've had to take a step back and okay, let me put this into a framework that you're more comfortable with. Let me put it into a scientific paper and publish it. Peer review it.
That's good. I like that.
Does the wind theory work for the Nebraska water basin? The wind creating those? I'm curious because if it doesn't, if say the wind just cuts straight south, then that debunks them completely. I'm actually
well the thing is how could that be if all the wind was blowing in the direction of the Carolinas, then how was it blowing towards Nebraska at the same time? That's where I'm and then how was it so consistent over 100,000 years? What do they say they formed? And keep in mind that the Nebraska rainwater basins weren't even really discovered until about maybe 15 years ago. It wasn't that long ago that it was looking at LiDAR, and they were like, oh, hold on.
Oh, hey.
We got a whole other set of these
what planet is that?
Depression. Yeah, and they're all pointed to the same place. Yeah, exactly.
That's why Wikipedia needs to ask for donations all the time.
So. Oh, God. That's right.
All the time. No, Elon's right about that one. Just ignore it now.
Yep.
I'd freaking trust Grok over Wikipedia, and that's not much better.
Me too. Me too.
God, ask Grok, dude.
Grok is tired of me asking him about Carolina Bays. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Oh, I gotta ask him. Good Lord. Cosmic Summit's in the chat.
What's up?
What's up, George?
We're gonna be up inside you next week. What?
Feels weird to say it like that.
Yeah, who's going to be there? Which one of you guys is? Because I know that
all of them. They're all
Gary. I've seen you there a couple times. You were there at the first one too.
Yep.
There too.
And I feel terrible because I was going to go over and I did introduce myself and we met at the first Cosmic Summit, but it was so daggum interesting. The content, I couldn't break away. I didn't. And you remember it was all in one big room.
It was one big room.
Yeah.
And it was just brilliant speaker after. It was so good.
So I was
so good.
I was like, Gary, just whatever. I'm busy.
I got time for Nerd Boy.
Yeah,
okay,
that was a good show.
Yep. And then last year I saw X-Ray Girl. She was there. But again,
probably
same
running
thing.
around.
I was so interested. Garrett, were you there?
I was there. I was there.
I didn't even I didn't recognize you. I didn't see you.
I sneak into the shadows. I'm like Homer Simpson into the bush.
It's that quarter black.
We were Adam saw more than we did because I had to run the other channel too, and then we were also doing interviews, which we'll have you at. We were doing interviews because George Gate was kind enough to give us our little podcasting room, and that was fun. That was fun. But I was also recording videos, and Acolyte was out. And
that's right.
Time.
I think
now. I'll say that the live stream experience this year is going to be even better than it was last year. So Adam, you said you're going to be watching it from.
I will.
Yeah. So they're going to have a news room set up. So when speakers get off the stage, we'll kind of instead of answering questions right there in front of everybody, we'll kind of move our way into the newsroom and answer questions from the live stream, which would be really cool.
That's
cool.
That's
a
very
good
awesome
idea.
Yeah.
I love to watch this grow every year. It just
I know.
It's so cool.
Yep.
Well, I had to catch up on Randall's was so damn long. We had to go. Remember, we had to do the show. So I'm catch up with Randall online.
all the
Yeah.
speakers were like, all the speakers all got together and we all went and had dinner while Randall was speaking. And we came back and he was still talking.
He's
It was,
still
I think he
going.
went for
Oh
like
my
6 hours.
George just actually sent me a message about live stream passes and a promo. So
Three
if you are
cams.
interested, yes,
Promo.
3 cams.
Promo,
Live
let's
stream
go.
link is in the description, and I just dropped it in chat on YouTube, and I will drop it in chat for
Listen,
Rumble as well.
$50 for 3 days of content like that, you can't beat
I
it.
know.
Like that is like it. I mean, that's like taking
Just
your
click the link.
That's like taking
Click the link.
my family to McDonald's for dinner one night.
Just look at the
McDonald's
cast.
is
That's
so
expensive. No, I'm just kidding.
Look at the
I
panel.
know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, look at the panel list. There's a ton
Look at
of
the
really
panel.
great speakers, man.
Yeah.
It is
Crazy.
packed. I am bummed I'm not going to be
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
Next
next
Whip out,
you were there.
whip out the panel
Mhm.
again. I'm just noticing your name
Whip it
there,
out.
X-Ray girl.
What you-
Shu A.
Yeah.
What kind of CCP stuff we got
That
going on
literally
here?
What
is
is
my
going on?
Chinese name.
Shu A.
Shui, yeah.
Shu A on head.
Shui.
Yes. Everyone's been making fun of me for that, but yes.
Shui. No, it's Shui. Shui.
No, just X is fine. Or shoe. That would work too.
Shoe.
I would be okay with shoe. But
Shoe.
yeah.
Xi Jinping.
I have like so many different names now. It's fine. I'll take
Can
it.
you explain that? Because I not only am I an educator, like I teach at a high school, but I also teach
Bless
for
your
an
heart.
online school that's based in Singapore,
Oh.
and all of my students from Singapore have
English names?
they have a different English name that's like super common, like Emily and Natalie and things like that.
Oh,
But
so the reason they do that is they'll have like names like this, and they'll be
Mhm.
like, it's too hard for the American people to say my name. So like people would just be like, Zoo, or and then they'll choose just the name.
Exui.
It's classic
Yeah.
America. Get over here and make it so I can say your name.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
end up
so who
choosing-
chooses that?
Classic.
Like who chooses the American name? Is that you
Oh, they-
or did your
themselves,
parents?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Themselves.
So
Or yeah.
At what
It's,
age? Like when did you decide
To have like a Chinese
like an
name.
American? No, an American,
American
Like
name?
you were, you're born given name.
I was born with 3 names. I had a Vietnamese name, a Chinese name, and a Canadian name. So
Wow.
You're just stealing all the names. You're hogging
Yeah.
those names.
Just drop the Canadian one. It's fine
Doesn't count anyways.
Yeah.
because they're slightly more communist than China right now. So.
Look at this.
Look at this.
Look at this
Look at
murderous
this.
row.
Look at this.
Robert Schock,
Ah,
Scott
Randall
Walker. Come on, look what they did. George, stop right there. What did
Yeah.
you do to my boy Hugh right there with this picture? Okay.
Yeah.
He looks surprised.
You
like,
couldn't
what?
get a better picture of you.
Mid sentence.
Well, I've been trying to get him to update my picture for 2 years now.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
Matt Bell. He's got a great show, man. I really
Yeah.
like
Matt
both
Bell's
of us a
great.
lot.
Yeah, this is such a good. I
It's a
can't wait.
Stacked lineup.
And speaking of Bell,
won't
I'm
be able to
really
pee.
excited that he's
Jay
going to be
Anderson.
the one
Oh, Jay
funding
Anderson. That's cool. Yeah.
going into the Great Void in the Great Pyramid.
Oh, right.
And-
He's
and
funding
the
that.
reason
yes.
I'm excited about that is because it's not the Egyptian antiquities that are doing it.
Ashton.
It's someone that I have grown to trust. I like his podcast. I think he's very down to earth, and I like his logical sense of mind. And since he's funding it, we're going to get the information from him.
Yeah.
Meaning they're not going to find something and be like, all right, we can't tell the world. Whatever's in there. Now, Zahi Was thinks it's
He's
top-rated
the
too.
director. Zahi Was
I know-
is the director, but Matt.
True, but Bell, he's funding it, so he's going to be there and be
It's
a
going to
part
be a
of that.
national project, Adam. It's going to be a
Yeah.
national
You don't
project.
understand, Adam.
Don't understand.
You know what?
I
You
don't
didn't read his
understand.
book.
Yeah, it's in his
Adam.
book.
It's in
All of the
book.
information's in his book.
Well, that's going to be in the next book, obviously.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he's like Bruce. He's like Bruce Wayne, man. That guy's getting his fingers into everything. It's awesome.
It's cool, man.
Yeah. He was actually introduced. It was actually Ben who introduced myself to Matt Bell. I was like his 4th guest on his show, Matt Bell's show.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
I love
Yeah,
that.
and Ben wasn't sure if he can like divulge who was coming up with all these Egyptian vases that they were scanning. So he's like, I don't know if I could tell you, but there's a guy down in Florida, man. He's got, he's wealthy. He's buying these vases, and And then turns out it's Matt Bell, the CEO of Bell's Florida, Bell's department stores. And it's like, oh, well, that's awesome. I got a Bell's right down the road.
Yeah, it's cool.
So yeah,
You gotta start shopping at Bell's.
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
There we go. Support that guy. No, it's good to have rich people doing fun stuff like this. We need more of that instead of like, I don't know, funding AI research and wanting to put chips on our head. You know, I like
That's a whole
Elon.
other
I
conversation.
do, but the whole chip thing is bad. It's all bad. It's
Well,
all
some
bad.
say that we've already hit the singularity with AI. I was just reading a paper about it yesterday. That it's too late.
I think
AI is
if we
already-
hit the singularity, we are done.
Well,
Unless
what
we
if AI
unplug.
Unless
what if
yeah.
AI has seen every single movie that we've ever released and is not trying to
Well,
let us
if they've
know?
seen every single movie
that we're
lately, they
on
will
to
end us
them.
all. Okay.
It was like we
Well,
just need to
maybe-
get in this whole experiment.
Well, like Ashton said,
If
you know,
AI
we were
watched
talking
Acolyte,
0 point
what would
energy.
you think?
They're missing that. Oh God, they would like kill me now.
Come on.
Just end it.
What if they calculated it became, sentient and it calculated it would be better for its own life to stay quiet and let the monkeys do the monkey thing
That makes sense too.
and not just immediately destroy us?
Misinformation
it.
campaign.
They have
Like,
to take
oh,
on
they're
that plan.
cute.
There's got to be a plug, right? Like we just like unplug it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big
Oh.
Well,
outlet.
not in
It might
Mission
end up being
Impossible.
like Mission Impossible. Dang
Not
it.
in Mission Impossible. There's no plug to unplug it. Can't do it.
Hey, something unplugged half the freaking internet last week, so it's out there.
Well, yeah,
Mm.
it's because they all come through. I mean, they all come generally from the same place. There's like 5 or 6 places that all of the internet comes from.
Yeah.
And
the internet
Amazon-
is a series of tubes.
Yeah. So remember when somebody hit Amazon really hard a few years ago and Google went down, everything went down. That's
Right.
Same
remember Parler. Remember when Parler was erased off
Yep.
the internet overnight, and it's because Amazon owned the
Amazon.
servers. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's right.
That's why.
Yep.
Mm.
Yep.
That's why. And
Forgot
they're
about
supposed to be
Parler.
in super secret locations that you can easily find. So I hope
Top
they're really.
secret.
Yeah, I hope they're secure. Well, God, there was sorry, Chris, but there was people hitting power transformers. There was people cutting the internet lines. This is all happening in Northern California, a really stable political place, by the way. A lot of very stable people live up there.
Okay.
So they caught the guys who were firing on this big transformer in Northern California back in 2013. They were just shooting it. And they didn't manage to take it out, but they tried, and they definitely were cutting internet lines in 2013 and 14 over the period of a year. We were having major outages there.
Was it like a calculated thing, or was it just
Yes.
people trying to destroy stuff?
I think it was
Destroy.
very calculated, very
Mhm.
calculated. I think it's a little test run, or it was, or
Yeah, we cut this. What happens? We cut that. What happens?
there is some weird, there are so many weird political factions in this country, but particularly in Northern California, there's a nice pocket of just wackos. So
sad because it's a beautiful
Yeah.
place.
it
It really
It
is.
really is.
outside of the city, it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Marin is beautiful. Marin Headlands and all that.
Oh yeah,
Beautiful
Way
stuff.
north is beautiful. Those trees.
Dude, Santa Barbara, San Diego, the
Yeah,
Redlands, like
yeah.
you go all the way up the
The
coast.
whole thing
of
is
California.
pretty great.
It is gorgeous.
Except it's
I'm
government.
assuming the Pacific Northwest is also gorgeous.
Yeah.
I just haven't been
Oh,
up there yet.
it is. We
So-
we took the whole Pacific road down.
Oh, at
beautiful-
Chaz?
Yeah.
Yeah, from Seattle all the way down.
Yeah,
It's
I've done
freaking
that.
That's
Cool.
fun
Take
drive.
one.
I did that up. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Well, Highway 1's crazy. They actually shut part of it down in San Francisco now. It's permanently shut down just for bison.
Really?
Just for
Oh.
because
What?
the dunes from the beach always blow over it, so they have to
Uh,
go and
Freaking
get a tractor
Clear it.
and clear it. I mean, I've driven over the sand. I've like driving on the one, and luckily I had my 4x4, so I'm like, I'm gonna go, boop, But yeah, the sand does blow over. But everybody's.
I don't
pissed off
agree
about it.
giving the freaking bicyclists anything. They don't deserve anything.
I know, especially in San Francisco, they do that. Last Thursday of every month, they do critical mass, and it's just a bunch of cyclists get down there and close up traffic for everybody. It's really fun. Makes you love them so much.
Mhm.
But real quick,
Mhm.
speaking of travel, in your talk, Chris, you talk about a Carolina Bay that's like generally pretty close to the conference that we could drive to and see?
Yeah, it's like less
Oh,
than
cool.
an hour due south, right from Greensboro. There's a neat little fruit stand right there, and it's like right in the middle of this Carolina Bay. It's pretty awesome.
Cool.
And I don't
How
think
do
I
we
have that.
find it?
I think it's US 70 or something like that. It's the highway that heads south from Greensboro. And
If you go to his talk from Cosmic Summit, he throws up a map that takes you right to it. So
I'll take you right to it. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And I actually, on my way up, I stopped and took some pictures of it. There was a whole bunch of people from the Cosmic Summit's Discord channel. A couple of them stopped off on their way up, so it was kind of neat. The problem is, like, I would take a field trip down there to show everybody, but like then you have to like leave the Cosmic Summit. So
Yeah. Dang it.
Yeah.
Right.
Too many
gonna
good
be-
things to do.
Tough choices.
Impossible to do this year.
I know.
Absolutely impossible. Well,
Yeah.
let's get to the people on this one, to the fine people who have left comments. You lovely. We've got Quantum Sledgehammer's been a member for 27 months. Thank you very much. Just dropping a fellow Texan howdy to the Forbidden Frontier crew, and all hail the chat. Love the show. Look forward to it each week. I'm glad you love this show because we love this show.
And there are a couple Carolina bays, not Carolina bays. They would be Texas bays, but
Yeah.
there are a couple in Texas. You have to really look for them, but we can
Where?
find them. Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, I need locations on that.
I want to go to
wanna
there.
go.
East
yeah.
Texas.
It would be
Probably.
very northern Texas. Yeah.
North.
Now, if you go towards like Amarillo, there's a bunch of pseudo Carolina bays. They have a bunch of playa lakes over there that are they're ovoid shapes. They're not ellipses, but they're ovoids. And they're neat too, but they're not from the same thing.
Hmm.
That's up towards me. I gotta find those out.
Mm-hmm.
Where those are.
That is near you.
Someone mentioned in chat that and pointed out that we're at episode 105. Is that correct?
105.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that means we passed the 2 years.
Oh,
Right?
Wait,
I know
for
we
real?
hit 100, but like 104 is 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
This is 105, so
Right.
now we've officially passed 2 years.
2 years of
epic.
shows.
So blink
Yeah.
of the
We're
eye.
just getting started.
I feel it.
We're just
barely scratched the surface.
well, next week we'll be at Cosmic Summit.
Yeah.
So
Are we gonna have a show next week?
it depends on how long Randall talks.
Yeah, yeah. It'll be on Sunday, so yeah.
Yeah. Maybe. Maybe we'll work out a show at like
Keep me
maybe a
posted.
different time that works for everybody. Because I'm staying an extra day, it looks like,
Mhm.
for the
Are you
class.
gonna be there
Monday
for
is
Monday?
Awesome.
I'm gonna be there
Yes.
for Monday, which
Awesome.
means I'm gonna stay Tuesday because Ironheart comes out and I gotta do video. So important stuff, guys.
Yes.
Wait, is that a TV show?
Ironheart,
Yeah, Marvel.
if you
Oh,
want to call it a
God.
TV show.
Right.
Quantum Sledgehammer has gifted 5 Nerdrotic Live memberships. Hail to you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. And then we have Vets Talking. What's up,
What's up, dude?
Hi, Vet.
brother?
Thank you very
Happy
much.
250th birthday to the greatest
250.
army in the world, and all to my fellow army soldiers and veterans. Gotta admit, I cried like a biatch live on stream watching the celebration last night, but well worth it because I love my army and the USA. Hail to you, brother.
Huge.
We love it. That
Thank
was
you, Vets.
that was cool.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
was
it's
cool.
North Korea. It's like,
That guy.
the Chow guy for $5 says, what's with the Koof is over guy? First, his spams the GNG Discord, and now Gary streams. He should take his own advice, get over it, and move on already. I don't know. But those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it. That's all I've got to say to that. So everybody here was affected by the COVID lockdowns in some way or
Sure.
another. Everybody here. You were a teacher. You were affected.
Big time.
And you had a kid. Your kid was affected. My kids were affected.
Mhm.
He was in kindergarten. Yeah. That's a tough time to not to be able to go to school. Yeah.
Yeah. My youngest was just starting high school, so he had to repeat a grade because of it. Even though he took all the online courses, we thought it would be better if he repeated a grade. And so no, not forgetting. Took my wife's business too. I'm not going to forget that one.
A little
ever.
salty.
I'm a little
think,
salty
justified.
over that one. So, Peru trip videos when? That's a good question, and that's on me.
Yeah.
Okay. So over the next month, I'll collect because I have to collect. We're gonna get Garrett's brother on this, probably, right?
Yeah.
So we'll get
Oh,
your brother
good.
on this.
Get him
and
working.
Yes.
have him wrangle some video, and then I've got all mine. I've got
I've got all mine.
I've got a couple hours, like a lot. So we want to put that together, and then I'll write something.
Yeah. We have a whole bit in Section Woman with Michael going through it,
Yeah.
looking at stuff, different aspects of it. So yeah.
Now I'm looking forward to hearing after
good.
your trip to Egypt how they two compare, because I've always been like way more interested in South America. I think that there's some really cool stuff going on down there that we haven't even touched yet.
Oh yeah.
It's still, from what I hear, maybe people in the chat have been to those places, but there's still parts of Peru where you could. It's not fenced off, or if it is, you can just go wander.
Rope.
I mean, you're risking your life in caves and stuff. Let's be real. But there was places we went to where we could just walk on everything, and it was great. Yeah, I guess you can't do that in Egypt or Turkey anymore. But no, it's scratching the surface. Peru is what'd they say, over 1,500 sites, and there's still Pillars of the Past is still walking around, finding stuff, new stuff all the time.
Yeah,
great channel, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
Great channel.
Yeah.
So we need to go back. We need to go back.
I want to go back, man.
I haven't
saw that video. Adam posted a video of Sacsayhuaman, this like overcovered area that we noticed, and we're like, "What's going on over there?" And there's a video going through it, and I was like, "Man, I want to go back."
Yeah,
it's such a great place.
Well, I'm going next time.
You better freaking go.
I hope so.
I want to go with Luke. I want to go with Luke Caverns and check that stuff out. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He's going in the middle of the jungle.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'll go with Luke anywhere except for the middle of the jungle where I have to wear snake boots.
I want to go.
Oh God!
Snake
I'd
go.
I'd
go too.
I'd go, dude.
I'd go too.
He literally sent us a video of him on top of a pyramid in the middle of Mexico, just like, "Hey, I'm just up here chilling out." He didn't
so dope.
Yeah,
I think I've seen that one. Yeah, it's great.
Luke's going to be at Cosmic Summit.
Yes, he is.
He'll be there. Yeah. He's not speaking, but he will be there. Yep.
He'll be there. Yeah. He's moving right now. So, but he just was on Joe Rogan. So watching him blow up is so rad.
Right.
It's so
Hell
rad.
yeah.
But we will, and we'll throw up some like teaser videos soon. So that's a really good question. And we'll let you guys know. Peter Schill for $108. Very specific.
Peter.
Thank you.
Peter.
Could the Venus flytrap be related to the Carolina Bays? I believe a Venus flytrap was first discovered in that area. Was it? I thought that was
what you were saying.
Really?
On planet Earth, like the first time humans discovered it was in the Carolina Bays? Really?
Yep. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Now, I will say that now the evolution of the Carolina Bays can probably go back really, really, really far. But they do find them. I don't know if it's because the Carolina Bays produce a like really perfect habitat for Venus flytraps. Mm-hmm. If you start going farther south, like in Georgia, we don't have Venus flytraps, but we do have pitcher plants, which are carnivorous plants. Yeah. Where things will fall. It's like a funnel, and things will fall into the middle of the funnel, and it'll literally like close the lid on top of it. And as they die and decompose, it adds the nutrients that the soil's lacking so that the plants can survive. It's really neat. Yeah.
So awesome.
So
brilliant.
It is.
Thank you, Peter.
Peter, thank you. Thank you. War Van Eagle TV says, Gary, I had no idea you were into geomorphology. My inner GIS geek is on overload right now. You are a true Renaissance man, my friend. Listen, I have a very similar story to Randall. Okay. I watched Vacation this morning because it's Father's Day. So I watched the first Vacation. And it's been a long time since I see it. And I'm like, oh, Christmas Vacation is just a remake of Vacation. I didn't realize that, but it is. So I've seen Christmas Vacation a lot more. But God, it's so good. But I used to get, like, my dad used to drive us across the country all the freaking time. Like, and it was a miserable trip. But I'd spend a lot of time looking out the window going, like, where did that big rock come from? This looks weird. Like, if you drive around, you've been to Arizona, Adam. There's
yeah.
parts of it, and it's probably because of all the flash flooding that looks like all this was washed away. Like everything just looks washed away, and I would wonder how that would happen. And then a little later in life, I started doing a lot of fucking drugs and tripping on acid, going out to Borrego Springs and going out to the California desert, and all you'd have to do is trip on rocks. You're like, how did that get there, man? And talk about it or just look at it for hours. That's where it came from. That's where it came from. It got me thinking about that stuff. Normally, like stuff that people don't think about. When you walk around Yosemite, you see this big carved out valley, and they know how it was carved out, but it's insane how that thing was carved out. Just a big glacier. I was on El Cap once before there was a fence there, so I crawled up to the edge of El Capitan, 3,000 feet, and I stuck my head down. And there's a little pool you can see on the bottom there. That's like right at the bottom of it. And you're like, how in the fuck did this get carved out? Like a straight line down, it's stuff like that. You just think about,
I just saw an image of it from like a drone or something that was up in the air. And I thought the same thing. I was like, how did that even happen? Like, where's the rest of it?
Where's the rest? Where's the rest of the glacier? I mean, there's a little river. There's a little river that goes through, and it's cold as F because it's melt water. But it's crazy. Now, what sucks is, when was it? Early 90s? An earthquake like took out a lot of the sheer cliffs in some of the areas there. My parents were there for the earthquake too.
Really?
Yeah. It was crazy. But Yosemite, if you can get in, it's impossible to get in. You got to like get your reservations a year in advance to go camping there.
Yeah.
Like if you want to stay in a hotel, but it's better to camp in the campground.
I'm sure
it's tons of fun. But a year in advance, 1 million people are in there every freaking year. And it's a amazing place. They used to do the fire falls back in the day. So they would like light this really smart idea, just the genius species we are. They used to like have giant bonfires and then like push them off the cliff. So they have the fire falls.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
It
does sound kind of awesome.
It totally sounds awesome.
Very human.
Yeah.
And when you camp there, it might be different now, but back in the 80s, like we'd be there for 2 weeks, 2 people would die. 2 people would be found dead on Half Dome, climbing Half Dome or something like that. Yeah.
Fallen.
Clockwork. A person a week would be dead. So don't do that. That's not like climbing the back of Half Dome was crazy because there's a big wire. And again, I don't know if they've changed it. It's been a while since I've been there. So they have a big steel wire that they pounded in and you use that. And it's like, it's a bad day for you if there's a lightning storm.
Oh no. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
oh God.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, climbing the back of Half Dome was awesome. Thunderstorm for $9.99. Doggerland supposedly happened during the Younger Dryas as well. Yes.
It did.
Yes.
Yep.
Or lack.
Well,
it stopped happening.
Yeah, it was exposed
right,
during the Younger Dryas and then was quickly swallowed up by the rising seas. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
it's my domain.
Who was it? Dang it. Gadam Padang. Who's speaking about that at the Cosmic Summit?
Danny Hillman.
Danny Hillman. Yeah. There's a
right
huge area of that area. Yeah, there he is right there. There's a huge area.
He's
swallowed
the
up
one
during
who
that time.
runs the excavation there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What were you saying, Chris?
Yeah, I was saying that whole area between there and Australia was exposed pre-Younger Dryas, and it got swallowed up too. So there's got to be stuff down there.
Man, there's
Didn't
absolutely stuff
we
there.
just talked about it. Didn't they find a skull or some sort of
They found
bone?
a city. They found a city.
That city in the middle of like
they called it a city
where that water.
Wow.
If it was down below, it definitely would have been a city right there. Yeah.
We are right on the cusp. We're going to find some really cool stuff in the ocean.
As the technology gets better and cheaper, which will happen, especially with, AI, we're going to be able to completely scan the Sahara Desert and then start getting into the oceans, which we know nothing about right now. And we're going to find
jungle.
The more I'm learning now, I'm starting to doubt that statement that we know nothing of the oceans. I think publicly maybe that's true. But you know what? I think they know about some shit that's under the water that they don't want us to
Our
find out
government
about.
knows about a lot of stuff.
You know what I
they don't
mean?
wanna let us know about. I agree with you.
My dad was a sonarman on fast attack submarines.
Cool.
And he still doesn't talk about stuff.
Really?
Yeah,
I bet he sees a lot of stuff.
I bet.
He's like, that's
He
classified.
found Godzilla.
Oh,
Yeah.
still? Oh, shit.
Antarctica has gained more ice. It has lately
Yes,
because
true.
we're still
Yes.
kind of
But I thought that we
no.
what?
It's true.
Greta was
Greta.
wrong. Your girl was wrong. I'm sorry. It's interglacier, but like we're in an interglacial period right now. But it still could, like, if you go back and look at Randall's little graph, right, that he always shows before they changed it to the hockey stick, right, where they for the younger dries. The medieval warm period was warmer than it is now.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
significantly.
Yeah.
And things were fine. They were farming in freaking Greenland.
It was great. Like we actually thrive. We love the beach. We love it.
We like
maybe
warm weather.
Leonard Nimoy was right back in like the 70s, because Randall was saying there's actually more of a chance that we slip back into an ice age. And like that's what we really he's saying, like maybe we
There's
should
only one
pump
thing
more
worse.
CO2.
Yeah.
There's only one thing worse than global warming.
An ice age.
Global cooling. Yep.
Global cooling.
We have
That
8
would
billion
suck.
people, 8 billion people on planet Earth today. And we have to feed every single one of them.
Yep. And a bunch of them live in Russia and Canada.
Yeah.
China and India.
Yep.
Most of them. Yeah.
It's a cycle. Earth warms up, civilizations rise, comet meteor strikes, coasts are flooded, dust fills the air, causing ice ages. Earth warms up, repeats. Who knows how many civilizations have been created and destroyed? Says Buster Nutsmash for 20.
Buster.
You're right.
Dropping facts.
Dropping facts. Buster Nutsmash.
Yep.
Welcome to our chat.
We appreciate you, Buster.
That's a tame one, to be honest with you.
It really is.
It's true.
Abigor has been a member for 27 months. Thank you. Says, how does one explain when the Numenorians broke the ban of Valor, ushering in a divine wrath by Eru Iluvatar, thus drowning Numenor for all time? How does one explain that? Well, they weren't it's explained in the Silmarillion, my friend. It's explained. Don't turn your back on God. That's pretty much if God says, hey, don't come here, that means don't come here.
Yeah. Moral.
And
of the
if
story.
you go there and he's all okay, fine. I'm gonna save a few of you. The rest of you are going down.
You can watch all about it in the next season of Rings of Power.
Rings of Power will have a very accurate adaptation of that in their final season. Okay, Bubba Doom 1 for $5. Is a Carolina Bay a bay or a Carolina in the Carolinas, or is it a technical term? I just want to be clear. I've heard the name used where it could be either or.
So the goal is to change them into secondary impact basins. That's our goal, is to like make that the new term, secondary impact basins for all of them. But he is correct. Right now we find Carolina bays in the Carolinas. In Delmarva, they call them Delmarva bays. New Jersey, they have a couple of them in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey, and they have a different name up there. And then, of course, we talked about the ones in Nebraska, the Nebraska rainwater basins. So they have all these various names. We use the term Carolina bays because most of them are found in North Carolina and South Carolina. But again, let's push. Let's get
Appalachian impact basins.
Yeah, well, I would prefer secondary impact basins. Yes,
well, to each their own. To each their own.
Secondary. Lynn's got it. The Numenorians' fuck around value exceeded their limits, and their find out value had to catch up. It did.
Right.
Boom.
Hubris.
There it is.
Well, don't be sacrificing people to Morgoth. That's probably not a good idea. Probably not a good idea. Where was I? I'm lost. Now I'm found. Okay, here we go. Oh. Manta. Oh my God, how am I supposed to say this name?
Mantafarher?
That's it. Sure.
Mantafarher.
Farher. You're in Sweden. Come on, make something up, Adam.
That's looks German to me.
Manta for her. Manta for her. For 10
There you
euros says,
That's
I
it.
watched Rogan's UFO episode again. I found one theory interesting. In 1947, it could have been a German aircraft that the Russians allegedly used. There's also the UFO from 1933 in Milan. We did talk about the Milan one. That was I didn't know about that one till very recently. I
want to hear more about the Germans in South America. I think that's.
Did you see Luke's video?
I haven't
Luke
yet.
has a
no.
good video on it.
Oh, go
I gotta-
check
I
out.
gotta
He did a
watch
video.
it.
on
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yes, and what was it? His name is Kennedy. What's his first name? The military guy. Well, he did the Hunt for Hitler show for history, and he talked about like all the and they showed it, all the German towns.
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Oh, they're there.
Yeah, they're there in Argentina.
Blonde hair, blue eyes.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Here we go. Another story that gives you goosebumps, and what would be for you is that the Russians crossed monkeys and humans to create super soldiers. Did it work though?
Never heard of that.
I mean, they'd be stronger. Would they be smarter though? I don't
Than
know.
humans?
Would you
Depends
want
which
them to be
genes
smarter?
They cross too.
Yeah,
True.
and like who was?
Oh, is the new direwolf actually a direwolf? No, that's what everyone's arguing about. So like if they're using CRISPR technology, it's not like they're creating like this, I don't know what the hell it would be, a hybrid, but they're taking certain genomes.
It's the
and
closest thing we'll
tweaking
get.
them.
I want them to do that with a mammoth. That would be awesome to bring back.
I'm
Let's
all
try that,
about
right?
it.
Oh,
I'm all
they're
about
definitely
it.
going to do that. They did the woolly mice. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pleistocene Park. Let's go.
Hell yeah. That'd be way safer than Jurassic Park, as long as like maybe stop at short-faced bears.
Yeah, don't bring those
Saber-tooth
back.
tigers, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
not a good idea.
Yeah.
I'd go with some glyptodons, though. We can do some giant armadillos. Yeah. Some giant sloths.
Oh, the giant sloths
so
for sure. The
cute.
20 that would be great. That would be fun. A little destructive, but or the 6-foot beavers, man, that would be destructive. Or
That really
yeah.
would.
Oh, 100%.
We don't have the trees for that.
Yeah. There is a hypothesis that the giant beavers created the Carolina Bays.
Really? No.
Yes.
That's fun.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That
Smacking
beaver.
their tails.
No, it's
I know,
the
I'm just
beaver
kidding.
dams themselves backed up water, and when the Younger Dryas happened with the bolides, it flash boiled the beaver dam ponds, and that's what created them. That's cobras.
Random.
That's the name of the
Okay.
They were
research.
big.
This
Yeah,
is
that's
my
it.
favorite one here. The fish nests. Made
Yes.
by
They
fish
think it's,
waving their fins in unison.
What?
Let's go.
Yes.
which,
Everybody-
if you look at the image there, like cichlids do this. Cichlids create little
Yeah.
circular depressions. They're not oval, but they make circular depressions.
Well, then you add the wind.
Yeah, there you go. Then
There it is.
It creates ellipses.
solved.
Mhm.
Armadillo. Don't some armadillos give you leopardcy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would
So
you
if it's
get
a
big leprosy?
We get big leprosy.
Big version of leprosy.
I've heard ground squirrels can do that.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I have not seen I've been in Texas for 3 years. I haven't seen a live armadillo yet.
Really?
Oh, we got a ton
Yeah.
down here in
Yeah.
South Georgia.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've never seen one. See a bunch of dead ones.
Dude.
But yeah.
All
Lots
the
of deer.
time.
Dude, roadkill's
Awesome, yeah.
crazy in Texas. It is nuts.
Especially like deer season when they're really out there. Everywhere in West Texas, it's really bad.
Yeah, we got them here in Wisconsin.
And we got these giant trucks that just like mow them down,
Yeah.
with grills
Make
on
a
the front.
sport
They're
out of it.
dualies, and they're just like,
That's
You
weird.
guys have those Sika deer, the really big antler deer, or axis deer. I think they're called axis deer. And I want to. I do hunt deer. I'd like to get me one of those big axis deer out there in
Nice.
Texas. Yeah, I
That's
might have to come
cool.
visit.
Come on down.
yeah.
Cool.
I just realized I'm in one of those places that was under ice. I'm
Yeah.
in Wisconsin
sure.
right now. Right.
Okay,
right
yeah,
next
for
to
sure.
Lake Michigan. Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And it's flat.
yeah.
So you could try using the techniques used by the field artillery for crater analysis. It should give you direction, dimension, and curvature of the chunk that made the impacts.
That's a great idea.
There you go.
Well, watch this Cosmic Summit. Antonio Zamora is getting into the mathematics and the physics of how these things formed, and that ballistic reentry physics is applied. So check it out.
Nice. I can't wait. I'm so excited. It's only a few days away.
It really is. Yeah.
I got a lot of work to do.
Me too.
Yeah, you way more than me. I'll prepare like the day of. So, just kidding, George. I swear I'll prepare a lot more. I'm already prepared. I watch this stuff all the time at night. So
you're doing the Adventures Club, right? The Adventures. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be really cool though. That's gonna be
fun.
What time are you doing that?
I have no idea. When are we doing that?
I
actually,
think
girl?
that was on Saturday in the
Saturday.
afternoon.
Oh,
Saturday.
good.
believe.
Is that
Prime time.
is that before or after they do the Khafre pyramid stuff? Because that's going to be a big deal.
Wait, let me look
Yeah,
at the
that's true.
schedule. Ooh.
It's like
Yeah,
the same time.
Is it?
That would suck.
Hey,
No, I don't know.
No,
Like,
that's
sorry,
why
Gary, I gotta.
that's why I got the stream, man. I can catch up on all the stuff I missed.
True.
Yeah,
that's
that's
true.
true. That's true. Yes.
There you
I'm
go.
really excited about the Atlantica
Oh, the
movie.
documentary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
documentary.
Mhm.
Yeah, I want to see what he found under the water.
Everybody who I've talked to have seen it. They're like, man, these guys got some good stuff, and I haven't seen it
Cool.
yet, so I'm holding
Yeah, I'm
my
looking forward to
judgment. But yeah,
It's premiering there, right? It's making its official premiere.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
I've got to
Okay.
see
U.S.
that.
premiere at least. Yep.
So the Explorers Club is actually Sunday at 11:30. So
Beautiful. Perfect.
I will be there. Look for me in the
Nice.
back of the room, though. I'll be back there.
it's on the main stage.
I'll be all, what's
so-
up? Beardo's big brutal banana butt sex bonanza.
Sorry, Chris.
That's
Sorry,
hey,
Chris, but we're not sorry, Beardo, at all. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to everybody
Happy
out
Father's
there.
Day.
Hope you got treated well. To absent fathers, not the other kind, but the kind that aren't with us anymore, like my dad. Think about him a lot today. I miss him.
I bet.
Nicholas Horton has been a member for 17 months. Says, "Hail, Gary. I consider carnivorous plants originally came from space, i.e., like the triffids. Have you watched a day of the triffids or rewatch it? I haven't, but I will. Maybe
Cool.
I did. I've watched a lot of stuff and forgot.
You guys talked to George about panspermia, right?
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think there's something to that. I think that these, viruses and bacteriophages and things like that could survive in space, alter
Mhm.
DNA. And so after some big event like this, I think that the DNA could be altered through panspermia. And actually, yeah.
could
Large
be aliens.
carnivorous pants in the bays for a reason.
Maybe.
We just found bacteria we've never seen before on that on the Chinese spacecraft like
Right.
3 weeks ago.
Yep.
That's
So.
disturbing.
Yeah, not good. I
Yeah.
don't like that.
No, I don't like bacteria raining down on us, which it is.
Yeah.
You can't stop it.
Constantly.
Yeah. Chandra Wick Ramasinghe is like, he's a treasure to planet Earth, and most people don't know who he is, and he's an awesome dude.
Yeah. Shame he's not going to be I know he did a online
Yeah.
speak last year, which is cool.
Yeah. Yep. I actually he
Yeah, I'll rock
agreed to. I mentioned I do some online stuff as well as my classroom stuff, and my honor students. I had one of them interview him, and you
Cool.
can find it on my YouTube channel. Yeah, it's really
That's
cool.
cool.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
yeah. And I had to stress to that learner and his parents that you guys are speaking to like the man when it
Legend.
comes to panspermia. Yeah,
The guy.
like he created the name. So
OG. So go watch it after this. Link in the description, by the way. Thanks, Eric and X-Ray Girl put that in there. Ivy 1011 for $4.99. We have not reached the singularity. It has intelligence. Does it have common sense or intuition? It would have to be sentient to do that and become self-aware.
Mm.
Yeah. So I think it's reached a point, and it will reach a point very quick.
I think it was Sam Altman that said
Well,
it.
yeah, it's going to be able to. I was talking to my son about this. You're going to just be able to feed a Song of Ice and Fire into it. Say animate it like Studio Ghibli, just screw shad, and then it will finish the damn story. and it'll be a 2-day
Yeah.
2D animation, like faithful adaptation. We are not far away from that. Like it's in our lifetime.
Scared.
Yeah.
Dude.
Just,
Have you seen
Sure.
like the Bigfoot videos that have been coming
yeah.
out?
Yes.
Oh my god! Like
Those
and,
AI
and,
Just got deported.
hilarious.
and
Got
this is
deported
the
by ICE.
worst. This is the worst it will ever be.
No, like
Yeah.
for one, I mean, ufology is kind of screwed now. Like there is no
So true.
UFO video we're ever going to believe
Oh, I
ever
know.
again.
Yes. Yeah. No.
No Bigfoot video we're gonna have to go through the stuff from the past, and then we're gonna have to make sure it's basically you're gonna have to do this crazy thing like get books. You're gonna have to find books with pictures that were printed on paper back in the 50s, and that's
Leonard
the only way.
Nimoy.
Yeah, you're gonna
I
have
don't know how to
that's-
read if it's not on my
Plastic
screen.
mediums, yeah.
I predict the analog. I think AI is going to bring the analog generation, the generation
I
that's going to
hope so.
unplug. They are our only hope. They are our
Oh
only
shit!
hope.
I hope so.
I got my music collection ready to go.
There you go.
I'm getting records too, man. That's
Hell
right.
yeah!
Physical media.
WG, who we're going to see at Cosmic Summit, is gifted 5 Nerdrotic Live memberships. Thank you, WG. You're the man. Jackals of Terra Argentum has been a
Hey,
member
what's up, dude?
for 11 months.
What's
Says, there it goes. The two things that scare me more than short-faced bears are 11-foot, 1,400-pound American lions and the pickup truck-sized dogs that hunt in packs.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
The actual dire wolves,
that's terrifying.
the
It
real
is
ones.
terrifying.
But
But maybe we can domesticate them. Imagine a big dog like that,
Yeah.
just as a pet.
be fucking awesome.
Fido,
Cool.
a giant.
Ride it around.
Yeah. Bubba Doom
Battles.
for $5. In a semi, an armadillo will ball up. Then you drive over it. Then the engine scares it. It jumps some in time to hit the bell housing. It is shocking. So when you're driving around, yeah, like hitting
Oh,
those things
yeah.
must not be fun at all.
True.
No.
Yeah.
Brother, I actually prefer this show to FNT. First time I've
Cool.
heard it.
Hey.
Okay.
Thank you, Ghosty.
Cool.
Gary Drinker, Frit Foxu, and Gundam are the best. Oh, thanks. Gundam's great. Foxu's great. They're all
Fun.
great. I'm not so good.
Yes.
Garrett's great. But there's more. I gotta go find them, right? Okay.
Oh, I can read them if
Great,
you want.
great.
Yeah,
Hello
you
to
read 'em.
Eli, by the way, and on the Hodge twins. Both of
Oh,
those shows were
yes.
really great.
Thank you.
Oh yeah,
I enjoyed those.
I gotta catch up on the Eli one, but
The Eli
Yeah.
one's the first one I really kind of the Hodge twins was tons of fun, and the Eli one is where we get kind of in the book territory.
Yeah, it's
So-
really good. Really good. If you
Can't
haven't seen
wait.
it, go watch it after this.
can't wait. I don't think you read this one, but stop me if you have. Neil Horn for 5 says, have scientists found evidence of ancient human activities or habitation within or associated with the bays that could help date them?
Yes, they find Clovis artifacts within the rims of the Carolina Bays. Yeah, that's actually what started them looking for Younger Dryas impact proxies, was because they found Clovis artifacts, and they knew that above the Clovis layer you find nothing. Below it, there's habitation. So what happened when the Clovis were there is really important. So that's why they started looking for Clovis sites, not just in the Carolina Bays, but Murray Springs, and there's a couple other places around the planet where they started looking for impact proxies, because it was, as George explains it, that was their big hack, right? Was they went to well-dated Clovis sites and looked for Younger Dryas proxy, and they found it every site. So, yep,
Very cool.
I want to go to Murray Springs.
me too.
I want to. I don't know if we could just go there, but I mean, I kind of know where it is, so I found out where it is. So
Sneak on there.
yeah. Well, I also want to go to that site you're not supposed to go, by the way, where they found the footprints in White Sands in New Mexico.
Mhm.
Found out where that one place was too. I'm like, ooh, I want to go. there.
Volunteer with the archaeologists.
There you
They're
go.
always looking for people to help, and that's
There
how
it
I
is.
met Chris Moore. That's actually how I met.
Really?
That's how I met a bunch of guys. Was volunteering and helping out at these archaeological sites.
Hell
and,
yeah.
and yeah, and I mean, I didn't even bring up Carolina Bays. I helped. I grabbed a
Yeah.
shovel and started helping, and you can gain a lot of information and knowledge by doing that. So for sure.
Hell yeah. That'd be fun.
Awesome.
Good day,
Yeah.
honest day's
Doing
work.
the real
Yeah.
thing, yeah.
Yep.
We have a PS Caglione 3 for $5 says, please stay on Rumble. And PGMD 81 for $10 says, Forbidden Frontier forever.
Cheers.
Cheers. And then the Cosmic Summit has become a traveler as well.
Oh,
I know that guy.
Welcome.
I know that guy.
Welcome to the
Welcome,
traveler.
traveler.
And George wanted me to also announce that I will be also
yes.
one of the hosts at Cosmic Summit. So you will see me
What?
running around, introducing people, telling people where to find food and whatnot around. So very excited about that.
Oh my God. I was gonna make a joke and I'm not because George is
Do
here.
it,
We got
just do
Chris. No, your local dog kennel.
Oh God.
There's some stray dogs out there.
Sorry, Chris. I couldn't help myself.
Getting hungry now that you mentioned that.
I am a little hungry too. Yeah. We're gonna have company tonight.
Ooh, very cool.
Yeah, I can smell my Father's Day dinner.
You can?
In the
Yeah.
other room, yeah.
Got Nick Weiser
Let's
coming
dig in
over,
here.
dude.
Oh,
Cool.
Nick Weiser gonna hang out with
Yes.
Nick.
Oh hell yeah.
That's gonna be fun.
Love
It's
that
gonna be
dude.
fun.
yeah.
Yeah, he's great.
That whole crew is awesome.
So that was so our next show will be from something from Cosmic Summit. That wraps it up
Burrow.
for the night. Thanks for the kind word as far as Rumble is concerned. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But Chris, please tell the fine folks where they can find you.
Dabbler's Den. I've got the YouTube channel. I'm on X. And Cosmic Summit, guys, come. 3 cams will get you in to see everything that we're seeing for $50. I don't see how you can beat that. It's 3 days of content that you can't miss. Get it. It's going to be awesome. And I can't wait to see you guys there. That's going to be awesome.
Yes.
Yep.
Sorry,
Sorry, Adam. But Adam,
That's
ask
okay.
some good questions. Ask some good questions in the live chat, and
will.
Antonio and I will answer those for you.
I
Cool.
think that's an
Be there.
important. I think Adam's a new dad, so he's got to be the new dad thing. It's way more important.
Sure.
But holding it down in the chat's brilliant. We appreciate you doing that. So, where can the fine folks find you, Adam Crigler?
Well, you can find me on my channel, The Crigler Show. Just been doing a bunch of different things, playing some games, Final Fantasy VI for the first time ever, playing some music. I've been play a lot of originals on my own channel and on my stuff. You can't see my guitar. So I was playing it, so it's anyway, it doesn't matter. And then Base F Monday, every Monday night. Just a bunch of awesome guys getting together, talking about shooting the shit. It's a lot of fun. Come on by. Thanks.
Cheers. X-Ray Girl.
You can find me X-Ray Girl everywhere. I'm going to be on the road tomorrow, headed down to North Carolina to eventually get
Oh my
to
God,
the
you're going to leave me
Cosmic-
alone on my stream?
Yes.
What is he?
You'll be
What's Gary gonna
fine.
do?
What am I going to do?
Should I stop in the middle of the
No,
road and just like
no.
be on my laptop?
Stop.
Maybe.
I can do that. I just have to bring my Starlink. But or I guess you can do it from your phone too, like
Yeah,
hub
hotspot
it.
it.
Yeah,
We'll just wing it. Nothing ever goes wrong. It's okay.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
ever. So very, very, very excited about that. We got Taker 610 for $2 saying all of Gary's exes, formerly tweets, are from Texas.
Ah,
Oh.
I
See
don't
what you
have a
did
lot
there.
of exes. I've been married a long time.
And Zorbu for $20 says, can't believe
Hey.
Quarter Earthling didn't send me, aka his daddy, a card for Father's Day.
That's-
After all,
He sent him a picture on
believe you.
Twitter. He did.
That was my dad. Okay. A lot of
There's
people thought that
dad,
was
and
my
then
ass.
there's
That was my
daddy.
dad's
I
ass.
can't. You can tell
Like
the apple
father,
didn't,
like son, you
the
know.
apple didn't fall far from the tree on that one, dude.
After all me and the crew have done for him, the invasive testing, probing, subliminal mind
For me,
control,
that's for you.
and even his placements on YouTube as an instrument of our will. Sigh.
Daddy Zorbu.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just Zorbu keeping it in the family, Garrett. That's all. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, you
The
can call
lore
him
is getting
Daddy.
so weird.
Daddy.
I know.
Zaddy. There you go. Zaddy.
Zorbu's super. He's an alien that super
Yeah.
chats that probes Garrett all the time. So
Yeah.
Follows me around a lot.
The resident alien.
Cool.
He keeps coming back, which I find interesting. Maybe it's more you than me, you know?
you never know.
It's a connection thing. I think you guys,
Yeah.
it's mutual.
Yeah.
Garrett, what do you got?
Never
coming
calls me. I've got Base Staff Monday tomorrow on Adam channel and Normal World on Normal World channel Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Though I might not be there for some of it because I will be on my way to Cosmic Summit. Can't wait.
Are you driving, right?
I was gonna fly, but I think
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna drive now because of Air India.
Oh, well,
you know,
that's
Yeah.
I'm
fair.
gonna
Well,
save
that's-
up my luck
Air India.
for Egypt. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
I
good
feel
call.
exactly
saving
the
it up,
same way.
just building up that
Which-
luck.
By the way, we are actually half sold for
Half sold.
Egypt.
Yeah, I told
Let's
you.
go. I can't wait to see that. It's gonna be great.
So
Half
Oh,
sold
lots
for
of
shit.
Egypt.
it,
We're going to
guys.
Egypt. You could come too.
Yeah.
Just saying. With this crew.
It was a ton
Minus
of fun
Chris.
last time.
Chris, you could come too.
I'm really tempted. I'm thinking about it.
You're tempted. You should
Think
come.
about it.
Come
You
on.
should.
Make it happen.
It's gonna be awesome.
Make it happen.
Zorbu can't go though.
There's only
Zorbu.
one thing
He's not-
that
he's not.
I'm no, there's two things that I might not see on this tour, and it's going to the site of Amarna, which is a place I really would like to go to. Maybe I can make it happen. And then to see the crystal bowls or the quartz crystal bowls, you know what I'm talking about?
We can take
Those
time
I know
bowls.
what
after.
you're talking about.
I don't know where those are. I gotta find out where those are.
They don't have any in the Egyptian museum.
I know, but there's these from the pyramid code, and
Oh, okay,
I remember
okay.
there's these quartz
watch that
bowls that
again.
are somewhere south of Cairo, and I'm like,
They're really
"Oh,
large,
I wanna
aren't
see
they?
that." They're huge. Yeah,
That's probably why they're not in the museum.
I really
Yeah.
want to see those.
Oh, that's gonna be cool.
Anyway,
I can't wait. Yeah, I'm
But it's
driving
dope.
too. Screw that. I ain't
Yep.
getting on a plane. So I'm driving from Wisconsin, me and the wife. It'll be great. It's actually a shorter drive from Texas than it is from Texas. So I can do it in a day.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nope.
yeah, that's a
14
nice
hours.
drive
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Actually,
It is a nice drive.
done that a few
It
times.
is. So Nerdrotic Nooner tomorrow, square up on Rumble, normal stuff. And Cosmic Summit next week. So thanks everybody for watching. Thanks, Chris, for coming on and being a guest and joining us retards today. So thank you very much. And I appreciate it. And if you're going to Cosmic Summit, we will see you next weekend. It's gonna be tons of fun. Ciao.
See you there. Don't miss
Bye.
it.
Hail Georgia.
Welcome to the Forbidden Frontier.